Hi guys. I made a paid service in Telegram where you will find a great collection of fanfiction audiobooks organized and regularly updated. What you get? An unlimited access to the full audiobook library. New fanfiction audiobooks added regularly. You can play audios directly from Telegram anytime. Joining our service is available through a monthly subscription of $5. You can pay using PayPal or Ko-fi. So what are you waiting for? Send me a message on Telegram or Discord. I will provide the payment details. After the payment is confirmed, you will receive access to the private Telegram channel containing all audiobooks. If you enjoy fanfiction and prefer listening instead of reading, this library is made for you. Message me anytime to join.
Chapter 26 Speed through page 1. Chapter 26 Speed through page 1. Chapter 26 Speed through page 1. Page 1 Port. A port city located in the western part of the Land of Water. Its unique geographical location near the Land of Fire has attracted countless merchants traveling between the two countries to settle there. Wealthy businessmen spend lavishly in entertainment venues, leading to an unprecedented boom in the entertainment industry and attracting a large number of tourists. Rich politicians gather here, transforming what was once a small fishing village into the most important transportation hub in the Water Kingdom. As the saying goes, where there is light, there is darkness. The convenient transportation has made this place a melting pot of all sorts of people. The city center is relatively stable due to the official control of the Land of Water, but the surrounding slums have become gathering places for Yakuza. Hey, old man, where's that good stuff you were talking about? When Pingyao, with his dyed yellow hair, wore a flashy Sakajin jacket, held a toothpick in his mouth, and hunched over, revealing the blue tattoo on his arm. Seeing the fearful looks on the pedestrians' faces, he proudly tilted his head back and grinned, revealing a mouthful of big yellow teeth. Boss, it's in my shop. Absolutely stunning in your words, it's definitely top quality. An elderly woman dressed in ordinary clothes stood by, smiling obsequiously, ignoring Wen Pingyao's rather impolite remarks. Wen Pingyao was the boss of the neighborhood, and this whole area was under his jurisdiction. Even if he scolded her or slapped her, she would have to smile and accept it for the sake of her family's noodle stall. Wen Pingyao curled her lip in disdain, thinking that these slum bumpkins were shallow-minded. They're talking about top-quality goods. Getting even a mid-range item would be considered a stroke of good luck. On ordinary days, when he goes out, he can't even find a girl with fair skin to flirt with. It wasn't until he'd been with the big boss once that he understood what true luxury was like. When Pingyao thought of the red light district in the city center, smacking his teeth as if he could taste some unique feminine fragrance from the toothpick in his mouth. The old woman led Wen Pingyao to her ramen stall. It was just past noon, and the blazing sun was baking the air. There was only one person around the stall. When we get there, the boss is right there. The old woman pointed to the girl sitting in front of the stall, eating noodles with her head down. When Pingyao saw it without her saying anything. The girl had long, beautiful silver-gray hair draped over her shoulders, and her small body was wrapped in a white cloak. She was less than 1.5 meters tall and sat on a stool. Her small, palm-sized face was so white it glowed without a single flaw. Her eyes were covered by a strip of cloth, making it difficult to see clearly, but just looking at her delicate nose and pink lips was enough to make a preliminary judgment about her true appearance. Top-quality goods. It's a pity, he's so young and disabled. The old woman glanced at Wen Pingyao's expression and said cautiously. She hadn't yet collected enough protection money for this month, so in order to sell the girl, she deliberately didn't mention any of her shortcomings. You don't know anything. When Pingyao pushed the old woman so hard she stumbled, took 2 steps forward, and carefully examined the girl as he circled the stall. A rare silver-gray hair-haired beauty, also sporting a special blindfold outfit. If we take her to a big boss and train her, then sell her to those perverted, lowly obsessed rich guys in the city center. I'm about to take off. When Pingyao was already imagining the dream life he would have after gaining the appreciation of the big boss. Boss lady, another bowl, please. The girl scooped out the last noodle from the bowl and ate it all. She then gulped down the broth from the large bowl, patted her stomach, turned around, and called out to the old woman. Little sister, what's so special about this ramen? When Pingyao, increasingly satisfied with the ramen, couldn't contain herself any longer and eagerly stepped forward. How about I treat you to some meat? Oh, okay. The girl smiled with delight. The corners of his mouth curved into a crescent moon shape, like a ragdoll cat that had finally found some dried fish. When Pingyao grinned widely and spat out the toothpick from his mouth. Looking at the girl with her backpack on her back, her white cane in hand, standing obediently in front of him, he felt as if God had sent him a money tree, seeing his orphanhood since childhood. It also came with its own bundle and stick. Just right. Knock them unconscious with a stick, put them in a package, and take them away. That's the whole solution. Brother, my expenses for this month. Seeing that when Pingyao was about to take the girl away, the old woman couldn't help but remind him. I'll give you 3 days grace. Ignoring the old woman's pale face, when Pingyao coldly uttered a sentence, then impatiently grabbed the girl's white cane and walked towards the deserted alley on the east side of the stall. Walk into the alley. He looked around and saw that no one was there. Wen Pingyao stopped pretending and reached out to snatch the white cane from the girl's hand. A tug didn't pull. He gripped it tightly and pulled, but the white cane seemed to have taken root in the girl's hand. Wen Pingyao tried everything he could, but the white cane didn't budge. Wen Pingyao slowly typed out a question mark. Looking at the still smiling blind girl in front of him, Wen Pingyao's face quickly turned pale from impatience. Soon, a series of blows and a man's screams echoed from the deserted alley. There was no further news after that. Dong dong. Huili walked out of the alley, leaning on her bright red cane. Behind her, in the sewage, crimson meat sauce was spread out and evenly spread. When it comes to gathering information, it's definitely best to rely on local bigwigs. Thanks to Wen Pingyao, who was always open and honest, Peichuan Port had a clear understanding of the map, the forces involved, and the troubles that should not be provoked. Having just arrived, she didn't want to cause any trouble in the city. After all, this is just a transit point. The ultimate goal is to reach Konoha in the Land of Fire as soon as possible. Boss lady, another bowl of ramen, please. Huili returned to the noodle stall and put the white cane and bundle back in their original places. Okay, more. The old woman, who had been tidying up the dishes, smiled and then looked up, her face showing fear. He. The old woman peered into the distant alley, but saw no one. Before her lay only the unharmed Huili, and the bright red flesh at the metal tip of the white cane in her hand. The old woman swallowed hard in terror, her legs trembling like a leaf. Can you hurry up? I'm in a rush. Faced with Huili's urging, the old woman trembled. Ignoring her panic, she quickly cooked the noodles for Huili, soon placing them shakily in front of her. Miss, I didn't. Please let me go. The old woman talked for a long time but couldn't say anything. She was so anxious that tears streamed down her face, and in the end, she could only cry and beg for mercy. Huili picked up a noodle and blew on it. There was no comment on the old woman's behavior. In chaotic times, the weak, in their struggle for survival, often have no choice but to embrace cruelty. She did, and so did the old woman. Huili didn't want to criticize this behavior. Slurp, I killed that guy, and if you don't keep your mouth shut, I'll be in big trouble. Huili took a bite of noodles and mumbled something indistinctly. Upon hearing this, the old woman immediately knelt on the ground, crying and promising, I will absolutely not tell anyone. Please. Dong dong dong. Huili continued eating her noodles, ignoring the woman kneeling and kowtowing. Glug, glug. The soup quickly entered Grey Glass's stomach, the delicious broth bringing a lazy warmth that slowly dispelled the fatigue from fighting the dark fog. Waya, waya. From beneath my feet, strange whimpering sounds continued to come. Huili put down the empty bowl and turned her head to look. The old woman who had just knelt down looked at her pleadingly, her face covered in tears from the pain, her mouth open, blood constantly spilling from it, her tongue a bloody mess. She actually bit off her own tongue. Whoa. Bang bang bang. The old woman repeatedly banged her head against the ground, and soon her forehead was covered in blood. Cruel to others, cruel to yourself. Huili packed her bags and stood up. If I have the chance to return to the Land of Water, I will come here to eat noodles again. After saying that, he no longer looked at the old woman who was still kowtowing vigorously. With a disdainful glance at the ragged commoners who dared not approach and were peering in their direction from the sidelines, Huili turned and walked towards the inner city. Flower Street. The first floor of Jinhui Casino. Square stone pillars made entirely of marble support the golden hall, and countless chandeliers hanging from the ceiling make the hall even more magnificent. The gambling table marked with the word Sick Bow was packed with countless gamblers. Leopard, leopard, leopard. I won. I really won. A full 150 times. How many times is this? The onlookers roared excitedly, their eyes practically glowing as they watched the chips being spit out of the table. The third time. The croupier, dressed in a white shirt and black jacket and wearing a mask, wiped the sweat from his forehead with the back of his hand. Looking at the blind girl in front of him wearing a small cloak, the fear in his heart made him tremble all over. There were 3 separate instances of odds as high as 150. The chips in front of the girl were piled up like a mountain, and even a rough calculation showed that they amounted to more than 200 million. The casino lost so much money, the big boss will definitely throw him into the sea to feed the sharks. It's over. It's all over. Keep going. Are you going to keep going or not? The gamblers, who had crowded around the table, shouted and jostled to squeeze into the inner area, clutching their chips. The girl only made 3 moves, and those who wanted to follow suit didn't even have time to exchange their chips. Now that they had finally exchanged their chips, they quickly urged the hesitant dealer to hurry up. If the big boss comes soon, this opportunity to make money will be gone. Open it quickly. Exactly, don't be afraid to drive. The onlookers became increasingly booing and jeering. Looking at the surging crowd and the blind woman who remained quietly seated, savoring her drink, the dealer dared not open the door again. He ignored the gamblers' commotion, pretended not to hear, stopped shaking the dice, and silently waited for the big boss to come over. Huili took a sip of the unknown juice in her glass. The sweet and sour taste gave her the illusion of returning to her past life. The dealer's uncooperative attitude did not anger her in the slightest. We're all working people, so we can understand each other. Born under the red flag, she was a model youth with the best qualities in the world. However, the harsh living environment in the hidden mist village and the land of water prevented her good character from ever being revealed. He savored the juice in his mouth. Looking at the mountain of chips in front of her, Huili felt a sense of satisfaction. After leaving the slums, she headed straight for the casino. She probably wouldn't return to the land of water until she had the power to dominate the ninja world. Before leaving, she needed to use her Byakugan's abilities to make one last killing. The future life in Konoha is a relatively peaceful place. There is no invincible power there. Violence is less effective than money. Of course, violence is quite effective in the land of water. The white eye hidden beneath the blindfold of Huili had quietly opened at some point. In the transparent world, 3 faint chakra reactions came into view. There were only 3 ninjas in the entire casino. The chakra response was extremely weak, almost imperceptible. At first, she didn't dare to be careless, and she checked and scanned them again and again until she had observed them inch by inch. Only then did Huili realize with surprise that the other party really didn't seem to have anything special about them. Only then did she realize what was happening. Having encountered many demons in Kirigakure, her understanding of ninjas is now somewhat skewed. In reality, there is a deep chasm between the ninjas of the 5 great ninja villages and the wandering ninjas of the outside world, and the ninjas of Kirigakure are the elite among the elite of the 5 great ninja villages. Only by selecting the best from among the elite in Kirigakure, a village teeming with wise men, can one become the Kirigakure Ombu. It would be absurd to say that a group of ninjas were all highly skilled individuals like the Mist Raven and the Bloodhound. Just as Huili was pondering silently, footsteps suddenly came from outside. Get out of the way! Get out of the way! The tall bodyguards, dressed in matching black suits, pushed aside the gamblers watching outside the gambling table, using their backs to block the crowd and clearing a path between the doorway and the gambling table where Huili was. The heavily pregnant boss walked towards Huili, escorted by bodyguards. The onlookers dared not speak, but simply admired this famous bigwig of Peichuan Port through the human wall formed by bodyguards. Is he the big boss? Huili scrutinized the gang leader through the blindfold. How to say? This person was completely different from the boss in the movies of her past life. His face was not fierce and menacing. Instead, his chubby face gave off a strange kind of honesty. He's less a yakuza and more a businessman. This, Mississippi. The shop owner, Chonglu, looked at the blind girl sitting on the stool drinking juice, her feet barely touching the ground. He suddenly found himself at a loss for words when it came to the polite greetings he usually uttered. I don't like this title. Huili slowly said, shaping the empty metal teacup in her hand into an adorable crow and placing it on the gambling table. The owner of Chonglu revealed a knowing look in his eyes. He turned around and looked at the 3 ninja bodyguards behind him. All 3 shook their heads in unison. They could turn iron into mud with one hand without ninjutsu. They absolutely couldn't do that. This bunch of rubbish. They're all idiots. The owner of Chonglu rolled his eyes, then turned around with a forced smile. Excuse me. My name is Chonglu Wengxian. May I ask what your needs are? The boss of Chonglu became increasingly respectful. Having witnessed the true power of a ninja just 2 days ago, he was now filled with fear of all ninjas. Shall we go upstairs and talk? Please come upstairs. The owner of Chonglu raised his hand in a gesture of humility, adopting a very subservient attitude. Huili jumped off the chair, leaned on her cane, and went upstairs. The pile of chips, stacked like a small mountain, was still on the table, but no one paid any attention to it. Outside the human wall, the crowd, who were waiting to see how the owner of Chonglu would treat the blind woman, were utterly astonished by what they saw. After the initial surprise, a variety of speculations emerged. Some said the girl was a distinguished guest from the land of fire, others said she was the youngest daughter of the daimyo of the land of water, and still others were trying to take advantage of the girl's absence to steal the chips on the table. The moment he reached out, the bodyguard slammed him onto the table, like a pig about to be slaughtered. However, none of this has anything to do with gray glass. The group walked up the stairs. Second floor, individual cubicles. Boss Chonglu sat opposite Huili with his only 3 ninja bodyguards. What are your orders, sir? 3 things. Huili held up 3 fingers. At this point, Boss Chonglu no longer regarded Huili as an ordinary blind person. He straightened his expression and looked like he was listening attentively. I'm exchanging the chips for cash. I'll take them with me later. As it should be. Boss Chonglu nodded, looking completely at ease. The bodyguard behind him, out of Konglia's sight, smirked, wanting to laugh but not daring to. I've never seen a boss like Chonglu show such respect for the rules before. A ticket to the land of fire. Do you have any requests? Safe and fast. Then it's just the Hope. It's a merchant ship that frequently travels between the 2 countries of water and fire, with established shipping routes, and it even has ninja bodyguards on board, so it's not afraid of pirates. You decide what to do, but it has to be quick. Boss Okuryu turned to his bodyguard and said, Yuta, go now. Yes. The bodyguard's smile faded, and he opened the partition door to leave. Huili was very satisfied with Boss Konglia's pragmatism and efficiency. If you're going to the land of fire, would you like me to exchange your chips for the land of fire's currency? That would make it easier for you to use them. The owner of Chonglu asked questions carefully. Looking at the chubby boss in front of her, even though she knew he was utterly wicked, Huili found him more and more pleasing to the eye. No wonder he can be a boss. Okay, finally, give me a place to stay. The hotel is on the 3rd floor of the casino. I'll arrange the best for you. Okay, the cost of the boat ticket and accommodation can be deducted from my gambling funds. Oh, and deduct an extra $1,000,000. Why? The owner of Chonglu was somewhat puzzled. I killed one of your men named Wen Pingyao today. Consider it payment for his life. You've gone to so much trouble. The boss of Chonglu didn't know who Wen Pingyao was. He had plenty of yakuza under his command. He smiled awkwardly. It's out of the way. Having completely resolved the problem, Huili picked up her white cane and stood up. In the slums, where people are often gossipy, she never expected that the decisive old woman could keep her secret. End of this chapter. Chapter 27 The Flesh of the Three-Tailed Beast. Chapter 27 The Meat of Three Tails. Miss Grey Glass, your dinner is here. A handsome waiter pushed a mountain of meat to the door and politely rang the doorbell. Enter. The door was unlocked. Push the door open. Before anyone was even seen, the sound of chewing could be heard from inside, making the waiter grimace and feel a sharp pain in his teeth. They pushed the food cart into the room. The field of vision gradually opened up. In the spacious and bright room, on the side, a long mahogany dining table was piled high with plates, and a silver-haired girl sat to the side holding a roasted beef leg that was bigger than her head, her cheeks puffed out in profile. Click. The girl bit through the hard beef leg bone as if it were a watermelon, chewing it with a crunching sound, which startled the waiter so much that he lowered his head and dared not look anymore. Miss Grey Glass, the Hope will depart in 2 days. Here is your ticket. It shows your seat number and departure time. Please keep it safe. After placing the ship tickets on the bedside table and replacing the food and empty plates on the dining cart, the waiter pushed the cart away quickly as if avoiding a flood or a beast. Huili continued eating. He casually glanced at the neatly arranged boat tickets behind him. Mermaid Wharf, departure at 1 p.m. the day after tomorrow, VIP single cabin, voyage lasts 15 days. We're finally leaving the land of water. A wave of emotion washed over Huili, and she couldn't quite describe the feeling. From the time I awakened my memories until today, it has only been a week. But she felt that it was longer than a year in her previous life. The unknown Anbu whose legs were crippled on the battlefield, the Dark Fox, Naoko Amasaka, Mari Kurio, Arata Okamura, Karen Tayama, Oma, the Mist Raven, the Bloodhound. Slaughter, ambushes, deception, life or death struggles, scheming. Her memories of her past life gradually faded. Everything seemed like it was just yesterday, yet it was gone forever. Sometimes she couldn't even tell whether she was Take-Torai Harry or the middle-aged woman who lost her loved ones in the earthquake and whose life was as fragile as a weed. But that doesn't matter anymore. Whoever she is, her goal is the same. Gain power, take control of your destiny. Kanaha. Grey Glass gazes at the setting sun in the distance. Sharingan, Hashirama Cells, Flying Thunder God Technique, Shadow Clone Technique, Impure World Reincarnation, Reaper Death Seal, 8 Trigrams Palm Secret Technique. There are countless things there that can make her stronger. Grey Glass tore fiercely at the tendons and fascia on the cow's leg, its sharp teeth greedily grinding against the large chunks of beef, which became tender and mushy in just a few bites. The stomach and intestines gurgled as they digested the meat, generating a large amount of chakra. The excess energy was converted into fat and stored in the body, ready to be converted into chakra at any time to prepare for battle. The secret techniques of the Akimika clan of Konoha are nothing more than instinct for Harry, who can freely control her body. It has to be said that the abilities derived from the corpse bone pulse and Byakugan are simply too powerful. The more she uses them, the clearer it becomes to Huili how uniquely gifted her bloodline limit is. At the same time, she can almost guess the root of the bloodline disease of the Take-Torai clan. Kagaya Atsutsuki's abilities, Sage Eyes, Sage Body, Byakugan, Ash Bones of All Kill, and finally, the Ten-Tails massive chakra source. If you compare her to a tank, let's exclude the ten-tailed ones. Its 4 capabilities are cannon, ammunition and fuel tanks, tank body and radar, and operating system. The Thousand Hands and the Uzumaki inherited the immortal bodies containing terrifying life force, which also meant they inherited ammunition and fuel tanks. Although they didn't have cannons, they could still drown people by splashing gasoline on them. The Uchiha clan inherited the cannon. The ammunition depot was taken by Senjo and Uzumaki, so the Sharingan's powerful eye techniques extracted life force, causing their Mangekyo Sharingan to bring terrifying side effects to their bodies. The Hyuga clan took the radar and operating system with them. Due to a lack of hardware, most of the operating system was unusable. Only the ability to control chakra was somewhat effective. Thus, Hyuga adopted an unconventional fighting style that relied on radar-like observation abilities to manipulate chakra and attack enemies. The worst off were the bamboo pluckers. Other families have taken most of the abilities, and when the Hyuga inherited the Byakugan, they even took the operating system with them, leaving the Take-Torai with only an empty shell. No way. Use this empty shell to run people over, with repeated collisions, and without the life force provided by a sage body, each injury and subsequent self-healing consumes a large amount of chakra. In the end, he could only die from exhaustion. Kaimamuro's bloodline disease clearly meant that his life force had been used up and his lifespan was nearing its end, so even Kabuto Yakushi and Orochimaru could not cure him. Therefore, before each battle, Huili must store a large amount of energy in her body to prevent the corpse bone vein from draining her life force. The more she replenishes in daily life, the less she consumes during battle. In short, the more she eats, the lower the probability that she will develop a bloodline disease in the future. But this is not a long-term solution. Huili swallowed the beef that was so greasy she could no longer taste it. The ash bones, a weapon representing death in the hands of Princess Kagaya Tsutsuki, possessed a powerful characteristic that guaranteed death upon impact, causing Harry some fear. If her corpse bone vein evolves in this direction in the future, without the immense vitality of an immortal body, she feels she would have a hard time withstanding the side effects of such a powerful ability. Perhaps, the blood-stained disease of the corpse bone vein also includes this aspect. To solve the problem that using the corpse bone vein would affect her lifespan, she came up with 3 solutions. The first step is to transplant Hashirama cells to obtain wood release and sage body. Secondly, learn Tsunade's Een seal. The Een seal automatically absorbs unused chakra from the body and releases it all at once when needed, which is usable but only a temporary solution. Third, find a way to become a Jinchuriki and obtain a new source of chakra. Neither of the first 2 methods is currently available to Huili, only the third method offers her some hope. Set the empty plate aside. Press the bell and wait for the waiter waiting outside to push the food cart in, clean the table, and take away the plates. Pat. The door was closed and locked. He activated his white eyes, scanned his surroundings, and saw that no one was around. Huili took out a white porcelain medicine bottle from her clothes. The bottle was delicate and bore the emblem of the Bamboo Clan. It was the medicine bottle containing soldiers' rations that she found on the battlefield. Open the medicine bottle. Azure chakra overflowed from the bottle's mouth like flowing water. Gray glass grew an exoskeleton on its hand, allowing it to pour the contents of the bottle into its palm. Suddenly, chunks of dark, jelly-like flesh fell from the bottle and landed on the white bones in Huili's palm, writhing and twisting restlessly, as if trying to burrow into her body. Gray glass opened her white eye to observe. The meat strip was the size of a leech, but the chakra contained within it was greater than that of an average chunin. She found this on a bloodhound. After Mist Raven died, Bloodhound's lower abdomen inexplicably surged with chakra, and his strength suddenly increased dramatically. He used brute force to break Gray's neck. Huili killed him and was about to set the body on fire when she unexpectedly discovered this strange thing filled with a different kind of chakra. I was too tired at the time to think too much. During her travels over the past few days, she quickly recognized the origin of this thing. In Naruto, the only creature with a massive amount of water-style chakra, especially in Kirigakur, is probably the Three-Tails, that giant turtle. If she wasn't mistaken, this thing should be the flesh of the three-tailed fox. One of the 6 most famous cheat codes in the original work. Sharingan, Wood Release, Sage Mode, Shadow Clone Technique, Tailed Beast Chakra, Spacetime Ninjutsu. Now it seems she has the potential to become a Jinchuriki. Huili looked at the twisting, seemingly deteriorating sanity body in her hands, feeling somewhat at a loss. How do I use this? She knew absolutely nothing about sealing techniques. Eat it directly? That probably won't work, right? Despite the cautionary tale of Kinkaku and Ginkaku of the Cloud Village, who devoured the flesh of the 9 tails and became pseudo-Jinchuriki, Harry still hesitated. Logically speaking, Kinkaku and Ginkaku are descendants of the Sage of 6 Paths. Although she didn't have horns, she inherited 2 of the 4 types of bloodlines of Kagaya Atsutsuki, which meant that the Sage of 6 Paths and his brother were about the same as her. In terms of bloodline purity, the Golden Horn and Silver Horn brothers shouldn't be able to pull a fast one on me. Looking at the 3-tailed meat in his hand, which resembled a leech, Huili licked the butter stains on the corner of her mouth with her pink tongue. She had already accumulated so much energy in advance. If all else failed, she could just have her stomach and intestines removed. Anyway, she could regenerate using her bone veins. But what if it works out? She's actually a fake 3-tails Jinchuriki. After considering the potential gains, Huili finally made up her mind. Done. End of this chapter. Chapter 28 Inhuman. Chapter 28 Inhuman. Just do it. Huili locked the door and windows, drew the curtains, and sat cross-legged on the bed. With his eyes closed, he shoved the disgusting strip of meat into his mouth. The meat strips had no strange taste upon first bite, and their texture, resembling both chicken and fish, was quite novel. However, the strange texture which kept rolling and tumbling in the mouth, becoming more and more elusive with each chew made Huili frown. Gila. After chewing casually a couple of times, Huili swallowed the meat strip in one gulp. At first, there was nothing unusual. Huili dared not relax. White Eyes kept a constant watch on the rotten flesh inside the intestines, which was being eroded and dissolved by stomach acid, until it is completely dissolved. Wow, in a daze, Huili seemed to hear the sound of water. The 3-tailed flesh, digested into liquid, transformed into a surging tide, seeping out from the stomach and spreading throughout the body, leaving a trail of icy coldness along its path. Huili shuddered. The three tails chakra, spreading from the stomach, had invaded the meridians. The uncontrollable foreign chakra rampaged through the meridians, quickly disrupting the body's complete chakra circulation pathways. If this chakra is allowed to run rampant any longer, her meridians may rupture. Huili formed the Z mudra with both hands. The invisible spiritual energy mixed with the physical energy, and the azure chakra also surged from the heart, flowing out along the meridians and surrounding the three tails chakra, which flowed like water. Her chakra reserves were almost equal to the amount of the tailed beast within her, and the result of using an encirclement strategy was that she was completely dispersed by the three tails chakra. Watching as the tailed beast's chakra rushed towards the chakra seed in his heart. The gray glass passageway is not good. If her chakra seed is destroyed, her path as a ninja will likely be cut short. Ignoring the matter of the Jinchuriki, he quickly mobilized his chakra, gathering it in front of his heart to collide with the three tails chakra. Huili groaned, blood trickling from the corner of her mouth. The two streams of chakra collided in the meridians, and the pressure generated ruptured all the capillaries along the way. The extremely high quality of the three tails chakra directly pushed Haley's chakra back to his heart. How can the quality of the same amount of chakra be so different? Is this the power of the tailed beasts? Grey Glass felt a burning passion in her heart. As expected of a tailed beast chakra that can compete for the top spot on the cheat list, it is indeed powerful. However, the more powerful it is, the more Grey Glass wants it. If she can tame this chakra, her strength will at least double. The deathly grayness in his eyes intensified, his pupil power sank, and his physical body, meridians, and blood vessels were activated by an invisible force. The combined forces of eye power, physical body, and chakra simultaneously annihilated the rampaging three tails chakra. The three tails chakra seemed to sense the danger and became even more frenzied. The water-like chakra gradually froze into sharp ice, traveling along the meridians towards the heart. The flesh and blood along the way turned white from the stimulation of the icy chakra, and the surging blood turned into red ice shards. Ice release. Huili narrowed her eyes. Why didn't she remember that the three tails had such an ability? The meridians automatically broke and reconnected, causing the terrifying ice release chakra to detour through the heart and be guided into a new chakra cycle. Flesh and blood throbbed. The dense network of meridians extends and meanders, forming a cycle that stretches and prolongs the icy three tails chakra to an extreme degree. It's now. A burst of azure chakra suddenly erupted and severed the end of the three tails chakra. The frozen and hardened meridians were broken. A small section of the three tails chakra was enveloped by a powerful chakra, trapping it inside. No matter how it struggled, it could not break through Grey Glass's blockade. Huili once again manipulated chakra to separate and disperse that small section of chakra, and the deathly grey Byakugan power suddenly appeared, imprinting itself on the shattered three tails chakra, forcibly seizing control of the chakra. Gradually, the three tails chakra finally ceased its arrogance, and the Byakugan's power, carrying the grey chakra, swept straight in, utterly shattering it. The chakra fragments of the alien species decomposed and fused with the chakra of the Grey Glass. The azure chakra gradually turned deep blue in Huili's surprised gaze, and seemed to possess some unique properties belonging to the tailed beast chakra. No time to investigate. More than half of the three tails chakra was still rampaging through his body, spreading like ice, almost turning ash into an ice sculpture. Huili quickly manipulated the newly generated chakra, gradually absorbing the three tails chakra along its meridians. As the chakra grows stronger, the process of absorption becomes faster and faster. Finally, it seemed that their nature had converged, and the three tails chakra no longer resisted, allowing the torrent of new life to engulf and eliminate it. Outside world. The hotel room was dimly lit, and a cold wind was blowing. The silver-haired girl sat cross-legged on the pure white bed, completely still as an ice sculpture. Her exquisite features resembled clay sculpted by a craftsman, and she seemed utterly devoid of life. Half an hour. Suddenly, an unusual sound of running water filled the quiet room. Glug, glug, a translucent red bubble detached from Grey Glass's body, and a deep blue, opposite-sex chakra enveloped his body. The curtains inside moved automatically without any wind, her long, silver-gray hair danced in the air, and a layer of ethereal red clothing floated on her fair skin. Open your eyes. With silver hair, red clothes, white eyes, and gray pupils, and a red tail that seemed both real and illusory, she resembled a legendary fox spirit. Receive, a thought came to my mind. As the tailed beast cloak contracted within him, the deep blue chakra, nearly twice its original size, receded back into the chakra seed at his heart, giving Gray an inexplicable feeling of fullness. The chakra, whose nature had been altered, was redecomposed into spiritual energy and physical energy. Visibly, the two originally pure energies were now mixed with a certain blue impurity. The energy of the alien-tailed beast entered the cells and soul through the energy path that originally belonged to Hailey. An indescribable feeling came from the deepest part of my body. My body felt like it was being electrocuted. A tingling, numb sensation spread deep within my bones, my flesh and blood rejoiced, and even my brain felt a blissful, soul-shaking tremor. Pleasure comes quickly and goes even faster. Before Huili could fully appreciate it, the exhilarating feeling, as if life was about to evolve and leap forward, vanished. This left Huili feeling somewhat lost and dejected. Forget it, greed knows no bounds. Today's harvest is already great enough. If there were more tailed beast chakra, she might have been burst by the surging chakra and frozen into ice powder. I didn't expect the three tails to have the ability of ice release. Huili comforted herself. He got up and stretched his arms and legs, closing his eyes to sense the strange changes that occurred after absorbing the three tails chakra. She did not inherit the ice release technique she had been most looking forward to. No physical changes have been observed so far. The tiny bit of three-tailed beast flesh that it devoured wasn't even enough to fill a tooth gap. Moreover, tailed beasts themselves don't provide any enhancement to the physical body, they just feel that the energy inside their bodies is more abundant and their stamina is more plentiful. In contrast, the changes in chakra are quite significant. Look inward at yourself. The chakra within the meridian circulates back and forth, like the tide. First of all, the number has doubled, and now, in terms of chakra alone, she is extremely close to a jonin. The quality is several times better. Although she doesn't know any ninjutsu yet, one can imagine how powerful such high-quality chakra would be when unleashing ninjutsu. This is not over yet. Huili looked at the water glass on the table, and deep blue chakra surged from her palm. Under the control of the Byakugan, the form and color of the chakra changed. Suddenly, the illusory deep blue chakra transformed into translucent red tentacles. With a thought, the tentacles extended like springs, grabbing the water glass. He played with the cup using tentacles made of chakra. There wasn't a single crack on the fragile cup wall. After her chakra fused with the tailed beast's chakra, it also acquired some of the tailed beast's properties. She can freely extend, transform, and mimic. As long as her chakra level is high enough, she can even directly simulate would release, through several thousand hands with the Byakugan's ability to control chakra. My heart is pounding. The fusion of physical and spiritual energy creates a freshly born deep blue chakra as profound as the ocean. It devoured the flesh of the three-tailed fox. Contrary to her expectations, she did not become the three tails Jinchuriki. Instead, her body underwent a fundamental transformation. From then on, the chakra she synthesized would contain some of the properties of the tailed beast's chakra, but it would be completely different from the chakra of ordinary Jinchuriki. It's not like borrowing, but rather something I already possessed. More harmonious, more natural, more dynamic. A thought came to my mind. The humid indoor air suddenly became dry. The moisture in the atmosphere was as docile as a lamb in the face of the newly formed chakra, obediently gathering in the center of the palm, and the water mist transformed into a physical spirit snake that gently caressed between the fingertips. The corpse bone vein is activated. The skin in the center of the palm opens into a small mouth. The blood dripped onto the ground, but in the face of the terrifying alien chakra, it gained life and vitality, gathered up, and leaped back into the wound. When the palms and mouths close, blood flows back to the heart. Everything is back to normal. Okay. For some reason, Huili always felt that she was going against the very nature of the word human. And they drifted further and further apart. End of this chapter. Chapter 29 The Hope Ship, A Gathering of Heroes. Chapter 29 The Hope Ship, A Gathering of Heroes. 2 days later, at Mermaid Wharf. Waves crashed against the hull, spraying water and creating a large amount of foam, but the massive Hope remained as still as Mount Tai. Come on, everyone, let's check tickets one by one, no cutting in line. A young man dressed as a sailor, with dark skin and a strong build, cut a piece off his ticket and urged passengers to line up in an orderly fashion to board the ship. Lord Orochimaru, something seems off. Behind the crowd, a handsome young man with white hair, green eyes, and red eyeshadow on his eyelids frowned as he looked at the ticket checker at the front of the crowd. His keen sixth sense told him that something was wrong with the man, but he couldn't quite put his finger on it. Quickness is a ninja's most important weapon, and I'm increasingly looking forward to your future performance. Orochimaru, with his pale skin and snake-like yellow eyes, smirked, but the smile didn't reach his eyes. His cold gaze was filled with intense killing intent. These scum from the Mist Village are truly persistent. Orochimaru was puzzled as he held a dark-colored, wrinkled sphere in his palm. What exactly is the treasure of the Tape Torai family? It is incredibly hard, impervious to lightning and fire, and cannot be sealed or teleported to Ryokai Cave using reverse spirit communication techniques. In order to bring this thing back, he had no choice but to leave the land of water by boat. That's why they get stuck to the fog shadows like glue. Since they're courting death, we have no choice but to kill them all. We also happen to be short of experimental materials. Get on board, Kaimamaro. Orochimaru's magnetic voice became even hoarser, as if the scales of a snake were scraping against the soil as it crawled. Kaimamaro nodded. He sees Orochimaru as the reason for his existence, and he will not question any of the others' decisions. Even if there is a bottomless abyss ahead, he will jump in without hesitation. Meanwhile, in the cabin of the second-floor bridge, 2 men, one standing and one sitting, observed the crowd outside through the glass. Captain, they've stopped. Did they notice something? Ready to fight. So many civilians outside. What if the lords hold us accountable? The 4th Hokage's things are important. With Orochimaru around, it's not our turn to carry them. Li Xingshan sat expressionlessly in the chair, his brown eyes looking down at the 2 figures below, one large and one small, motionless like an emotionless machine. After chasing Orochimaru for so long, they finally received news that they were about to embark on the Hope. He then led his men to replace all the crew members on the Hope, leaving only a few crew members responsible for steering the ship, waiting for the ship to sail into the middle of the sea to catch the snake in a jar. As for ordinary people, they were just unlucky. A Kaga-level expert, plus a remnant of the Bamboo Cutter clan, would be enough to make them their burial offerings. In this world, there is only one person he cares about. He thought of his younger sister who was still waiting for him in the village. A different kind of tenderness appeared on Li Shenshan's emotionless, square face. "Captain, they've checked the tickets." It seems those civilians were quite lucky. As Kurisu watched Orochimaru and the remaining member of the Kagaya clan check their tickets and board the ship, his agitated chakra slowly calmed down within him. Among the crowd, two mysterious figures, one large and one small, both cloaked in black, were also hesitating. "If we don't kill Lord Zashiki, shall we not board the ship?" The girl with black hair, fair skin, and a gentle face raised her head and looked at Zabuza, who had a stern expression, beside her. "I always felt that the atmosphere around me was strange, as if something was wrong." Zabuza scanned his surroundings. For some reason, he felt that the crew members on the ship were looking at him strangely, as if many people were staring at him. But upon closer inspection, he felt that there was no real danger, and it seemed that they were not targeting him. Weird. Bai lowered his head, neither confirming nor denying. Ever since that time in the dense forest, when Lord Zabuza hurriedly ran out of the mist, he has been suspicious and paranoid these past few days. While Zabuza was fast asleep, she made him a glass of ice water. As a result, the bottom of the cup accidentally hit the table with a thud, and Zabuza jumped up, looking at her with a face full of sweat. His expression betrayed an indescribable panic. "Let's just forget about it." Zabuza observed for a long time but found nothing unusual. However, his dangerous intuition, honed by years of fighting, was unmistakable, constantly issuing deafening warnings to him. Ever since that ghost encounter in the dense forest, he always felt uneasy, especially when he was sleeping. He often felt a strange chill. Dreaming back at midnight, a terrifying, distorted blind woman floated in front of him amidst the mist, and the chilling thumping sound of her cane constantly echoed in his ears. Like now, dong dong dong. The dull knocking sound came from behind Zabuza, causing his powerful latissimus dorsi muscles to tense involuntarily. Shook his head. "Shake off the panic in your heart. How can a dignified hidden mist demon be afraid of ghosts?" Dong dong dong. A clearer, slightly more hurried tapping of the cane came from behind Zabuza again, and the sound grew softer and softer. Zabuza turned around as if he had been electrocuted. Behind, leaning on his white cane, the white cloak that haunted his dreams disappeared into the crowd, leaving only a fleeting silhouette for the dumbfounded Zabuza. "Lord Zabuza, let's go back." Haku, holding Zabuza's hand, wanted to return to the Okinawa hotel. But she found that Zabuza's palms were covered in fine sweat, and she couldn't budge them no matter how many times she tried. "No, we must leave Peichuan port today." Zabuza's voice was filled with an unprecedented determination. Carrying his bundle and with Shiro by his side, he pushed aside the passengers in front of him and cut in line to board the ship full of hope. As for Grey Glass, she ran away. They ran without the slightest hesitation, as if they had made up their minds. In her clear-eyed world, the hope behind her was 100 times more terrifying than the hellish cruise ship. Two Kaga-level, unparalleled powerhouses, the terrifying chakra surge was like a blazing sun, radiating a blinding light. 3 elite jonin, not counting Zabuza Mamakai. Each person's chakra reserves are roughly equal to that of Ash, who devoured the flesh of the 3 tails, plus 3 or 4 times that amount, and still have a surplus. There are 8 regular jonin and 8 special jonin, plus a large number of chunin who have infiltrated the group. The fog ravens and bloodhounds she killed using every means at her disposal were just the basic units within this group. This is not hope at all. This is a ticket to hell. Terrified, Grey tore the ticket to shreds and hurried away from the port. If she gets caught in the crossfire when the two powerful figures clash, then when the tailed beast cloak is revealed, her Byakugan and Shikatsumayaku will appear. This is a very serious matter. It would be better if they died on the spot. If he didn't die, the Hidden Clouds, the Hidden Leaf Village, and the Hidden Mist Village might even wage a small-scale war for her, with this bustling port city as the battlefield. Yuta scratched his head, looking at the returning Huili with a puzzled expression. Why are you back?" "Okay, find your boss, and book another ticket." Huili's face was dark as she spat out a few words through gritted teeth. "Gum." Yuta swallowed hard, and 5 words flashed through his mind. "Boss, you're in danger." End of this chapter. Chapter 30 Konoha. Chapter 30 Konoha Summer of the 58th year of Konoha. The land of fire in August is no place for humans. Noon. A gentle breeze rustled the treetops, causing the branches to sway weakly. The scorching air currents baked the green leaves until they were droopy, as if they were about to enter late autumn prematurely and turn into a withered yellow. The main gate of Konoha village has 2 heavy, military green iron gates that open outwards in a V-shape, and there is not a single person in sight on the dirt road extending from the depths of the forest. Gangza Tetsu and Izumo Kamizuki, both dressed in green ninja vests, sat on stools in the shadows of the dirt road in front of the door. So boring. With bandages wrapped around his cheeks and the bridge of his nose, Gang Zisha hunched over the back of the chair, his usually spiky hair now drooping like grass dried by the scorching sun. In this awful weather, even spies would be too hot to go out. Faced with his friend's complaints, Izumo Kamizuki narrowed his left eye, which was the only one visible, into a slit, but he could only pretend not to hear and remain silent. As a special jonin in the village, he could only guard the gate of Konoha every day, which was indeed hard to accept. But the gates of Konoha, as the village's first line of defense, always need to be guarded. He still remembered what the toothless old man who had guarded Konoha for nearly 20 years had said to them. The will of fire lies in sacrificing itself to illuminate tender buds, until they blossom and bear fruit, growing into another towering tree, and passing it down from generation to generation. Now, it's your turn to shine, but this old man has an appointment with a beautiful lady for drinks, so I'll have to excuse myself. Goodbye. The toothless, 60-year-old man, though old in years, was young at heart and never returned. Only Gangzi and Taize remained, dumbfounded, guarding the village gate. 2 years have passed, and the two, who were initially full of ambition, have now become dejected. Just as Shinjuechu was lost in thought, a small figure appeared on the distant dirt road at some unknown time. A white cloak covered her entire body, revealing only her delicate, fair face, while a mysterious black blindfold covered her eyes and most of her face. He taps lightly with his white cane, carrying a heavy backpack on his back. This person is none other than Take Torai Harry, who fled from Kirigakure. As she walked, Huili looked up. Her delicate face, framed by a hood and a blindfold, was tilted upwards. Beneath the jade-like translucent periosteum, the center of the milky white iris shone with an even more vibrant, deathly gray light. Brush, a visible barrier of perception, like an inverted jade bowl, enveloped Konoha village. Red chakra flowed across the surface of the barrier, occasionally reflecting ripples. Is this the Leaf Village perception barrier? Such a massive sensory barrier must consume an unknown amount of chakra every day, and maintaining it for an extended period would require countless human and material resources. As expected of Konoha, the center of the Naruto world and the most powerful village. He is indeed rich and powerful. Gray Glass, the country bumpkin who had fled from the mist, sighed inwardly. After tearing up her ticket for the Hope, she asked the owner of the Okuria shop to help her buy a new ticket. She traveled across the ocean at breakneck speed, using money to pave the way, and finally arrived in Konoha after more than a month. Along the way, aside from killing several groups of pirates and bandits who blocked her path and turning a few people who tried to kidnap her into mincemeat, there were no further disturbances on her journey. Looking up at the enormous chakra barrier, the intricate three-dimensional circuits formed by the chakra within were dazzling to her, making her feel as if they contained countless profound principles of ninjutsu, yet she could hardly grasp their underlying structure. All I could do was scratch my head and watch helplessly. With just one encounter, her perception of Konoha's strength rose to a whole new level. The thought of the countless ninjutsu resources within Konoha fueled her burning desire for power, which burned even hotter than the August sun. Reluctantly closing my eyes, the chakra in the heart automatically disintegrates, blocking circulation. Hui Li's vision was plunged into boundless darkness. Thump, thump thump. With his cane probing the sand and gravel on the ground, Hui Li carried a package full of gambling money and headed towards Konoha in the distance. She wasn't going to directly show her disdain. They didn't even intend to reveal that they possessed chakra. As Wuyan fled, her vigilance was raised to the maximum. Who knows what the situation is like in Konoha right now? First, he had to blend into the village and return to the Hayaga main family to establish his identity and secure a powerful backer before he could gradually rise to prominence. Having completely left the territory of Kirigakure, she was in no hurry. Hey, little girl, stop for a second, you poked my foot. Gangzatai stopped the blind girl who was rushing into the gate with her head down. Her brown-white cane touched the ground and poked his instep. Oh, sorry. Having lost his chakra and unable to see anything, Huili awkwardly apologized and put away his cane. Steel grinned and flexed his ankle. This little guy is small, but he has a lot of strength. Little sister, you have to register before entering the village. Come on, be careful over here. Gangzatai pulled Huili's white cane and led her to the registration office. Shinjuechu took a thick notebook and spread it out on the registration desk. Name: Gray Glass. What are you doing in Konoha? Searching for relatives. One person. Yes. As Shinjuechu wrote in the register, she would occasionally look up at Huili to record his physical characteristics. Are you a ninja? Shinjuechu asked casually. Huili looked up in confusion. What's a ninja? Oh, it's nothing. What's in the package on the back? Clothes and some dry food. Okay, that's fine. Don't wander around after you enter the village. The dark gray figure before him responded naturally, carrying a heavy bundle on his back, and walked through the gates of Konoha village. Surrounded by complete darkness, she instinctively wanted to say no, but thankfully she realized what was happening. She had managed to sneak in so easily. Konoha's defenses didn't seem as tight as she had imagined. Outside. See it. Shinjuechuiun watched the receding figure with a serious expression. Gangzisha grinned, his gleaming white teeth clenching into a senbon needle. Yeah, carrying such a big bag on such a hot day, without a single drop of sweat on her face, she's taking us for fools. How are your skills? My physique doesn't look like I've been trained, but I just deliberately put my foot in there with a lot of force. Shen Yuechu nodded and continued, judging from the details of her skin, she probably didn't use a transformation technique. Her fingernails are very clean. Either she has accomplices, or she's pretending to be blind. I'm more inclined to the second one. Either way, it means there's something wrong with her. I'll go and notify the Uchiha security force. Steel Iron Hand formed the instant body seal and was about to leave. And many more. Shen Yuechu reached out to stop his companion, and as he watched the figure disappear into the distance, a strange smile appeared on his lips. Let's go find the barrier class first. What do you mean? Gangza Tetsuya was stunned for a moment, then quickly realized, if the barrier team sensed the abnormal chakra fluctuations, they should have already come to notify us. Shen Yuechu squinted his left eye. What if the barrier doesn't detect any chakra fluctuations? Gangza Tai frowned. If nothing was detected, either she's not a ninja, or the girl just used a bit too much force. Either. She used an unknown method to deceive Konoha's perception barrier. Those who can fool Konoha's perception barrier are no pushovers. Go ahead. If the barrier team senses chakra, notify the Uchiha to capture them. If they don't sense it, we'll probably have to notify the third Hokage to have the Umbu handle it. Shen Yueyu made a decision. Gangza nodded in agreement. Then we really caught a big fish. I always said spies have to commit crimes when it's hot. Hiss. Is that what you just said? Izumo Kamitsu asked, puzzled. Why not? End of this chapter. Chapter 31 First Meeting. Chapter 31 First Meeting. At this moment, unaware that her true nature had been thoroughly investigated, Huili was walking on the main street of Konoha. Ignore the noise of people around you. Huili manipulated the chakra to gather in her heart. The white eye draws power from her, bringing light back to her. The clear visual experience, coupled with a 360-degree panoramic view, brings a strong sense of security. The road was wide enough for 3 carriages to pass side by side, and the commercial district was still bustling with people under the scorching sun that could melt your hair. A toddler, not even 3 years old, kicked a ball onto the roof, which was then gently tossed back by an unknown ninja uncle passing by on the roof. The noisy, peaceful, and tranquil atmosphere left Huili somewhat bewildered. The bloody mist seemed to be just a nightmare for her. Once she woke up, she returned to her original peaceful world. But on the distant cliff, 4 enormous heads reminded Grayly that this was the Konoha she had been longing for. Goo goo. A sudden rumbling sound from her stomach snapped Huili back to reality. First, we'll eat, then we'll meet our relatives in the Hayaga clan compound, and then we'll showcase our talents by learning the Hayaga main family's 8 trigrams palm technique. Who knows, we might even be able to compete with Hinata for the future head of the Hayaga clan. With beautiful dreams for the future in mind, Huili walked straight towards Ichiraku Ramen. Ichiraku Ramen, a popular spot for social media check-ins in Konoha, and also a super dungeon where the 9-tailed fox appears regularly. With the ability to devour tailed beasts and fuse chakra, highly coveted the 9-tailed fox inside Naruto. She only absorbed a little bit of the 3 tails power, which brought her a terrifying boost of twice the strength. If she ate a few more bites of the 9 tails, wouldn't her strength take off like a rocket? Dong dong dong. The white cane taps the ground. Reaching out, she pushed aside the norin hanging in front of the door, which had the word Ichiraku written on it, and entered the shop. The shop's facilities are rather simple and old, with a few square stools casually placed in front of the long bar. However, there were so many guests that the seats were packed, and even with her eyes rolled, Huili couldn't find a space to accommodate her. Ms. Ayam, carrying a bowl of noodles and wearing an apron, came out of the kitchen. When she saw Huili enter, her gaze lingered for a moment on Huili's blindfolded face before a standard smile appeared on her delicate features. Hello little sister, there are no seats available at the moment. Would you like to wait here for a bit? The luck didn't seem to be very good, but it's a popular restaurant, and it was during mealtime, so it's normal. Row. Before Huili could finish speaking, a very penetrating voice suddenly came from the entrance of the ramen shop. I'm going to eat 5 bowls of tonkotsu ramen today. My old man's wallet can't take it anymore, Naruto. I don't care, you promised to treat me to Ichiraku ramen before school starts tomorrow, you can't go back on your word. While talking, the 2 people had already pushed open the norin curtain and come in. Huili looked up. The blinding chakra light made her eyelashes tremble. The pupils appear as a concentrated, diffused gray, indicating that the perspective parameters have been lowered. The 2 people, one old and one young. The old man wore a Hokage robe, his robust body was slightly hunched, he leaned on a cane, and the wrinkles at the corners of his eyes were like knife cuts that extended all the way to his cheekbones. Behind him was a little boy with blonde hair, 6 whiskers on his face, and bright sky-blue eyes. Hiruzen Sarutobi and Naruto Uzumaki. So lucky, not only did Huili recognize it, but other customers in the store also recognized it. Before he could finish his noodles, he was about to go up and say hello when he saw Naruto Uzumaki next to Hiruzen Sarutobi. His smile vanished, replaced by disgust. Let's go, I'm full. Boss, check out. The guests put down their chopsticks, paid their bills to Ayam, said goodbye to the third Hokage, and then turned and left. Soon, the once bustling shop became somewhat deserted. Changpyu gave the change to the customer, only to find that the customer had already walked away. She could only write it down on the bill and wait for the customer to come back and return it. He then pulled out the bill and looked at Hiruzen Sarutobi. What would you like to eat, Hokage-sama? I'm sorry, Sister Changpyu. Naruto lowered his head dejectedly. Although he was used to being bullied, he still felt guilty because he caused Ichiraku Ramen to close down. It's alright, there's a seat available. What would Naruto like to eat? Tonkotsu ramen again. Ayam said with a smile, clearly not concerned that Naruto was affecting her business. Pork bone. Wait a minute, Naruto. There's a first come, first served rule. No cutting in line. Hiruzen Sarutobi smiled and turned to look at Carrie, who had been standing there motionless the whole time. Isn't there a little girl over there? Oh yes. Ayam slapped her forehead in regret. Every time Naruto came, all the customers in the shop would leave, and she subconsciously assumed that Harry had already left as well. Excuse me, little sister, what would you like to eat? Changpyu came out from behind the bar, helped Hualai to a stool, put the package and white cane aside, and asked her in a low voice. I can't see the menu, do you have any recommendations? Tonkotsu ramen is so delicious. Naruto, who was sitting to the side with short, golden hair, suddenly spoke, his large, sky-blue eyes showing a hint of timidity. Okay, then let's start with a bowl of tonkotsu ramen. Ayam wrote on the menu, Naruto is also a tonkotsu, right? Super big portion. I'm fine as long as I'm normal. Hiruzen Sarutobi said with a chuckle. Okay, coming right away, Changpyu said, quickly returning to the kitchen after clearing away the dishes left by the guests. Thank you. The three sat in a row on the benches waiting for their ramen when Huili suddenly turned to thank Naruto. No, you're welcome. When faced with Huili's advances, Naruto scratched the back of his head, feeling flattered. Aren't you afraid of me? Are you ugly? Naruto was momentarily speechless. Looking at the exquisite face in front of him, which couldn't be hidden even with his eyes covered, he really didn't dare to say how handsome he was. It doesn't matter if I'm ugly, I can't see it, Huili said, pointing to her blindfold. I'm not ugly. I believe you. Real. It is good. He. Hiruzen Sarutobi stroked his beard, looking at the two people chatting idly in front of him, a kind smile on his face. A fox spirit boy, hated by the entire village, encounters a beautiful blind girl. What a poetic encounter. As Hiruzen Sarutobi gazed at the man and woman before him, he couldn't help but recall his own youth. Boom! Smoke suddenly rose from outside the store. An undercover agent wearing a green vest and a monkey face mask walked into the store. Upon seeing the silver-haired girl sitting in front of the bar, he stiffened for a moment before quickly returning to normal and whispered a report to Hiruzen Sarutobi. Sandame. The sound was faint and difficult to hear. While chatting with Naruto, Hailey noticed something unusual about the newcomer, and her ears twitched almost imperceptibly. An invisible power of vision gathered in both ears. Physical dominance was suddenly activated. The oracle is reshaped into a funnel shape that better conforms to acoustic focusing, improving high-frequency sound capture while maintaining a natural appearance. External auditory canal extension and calibration fine-tunes the length and diameter of the external auditory canal to enhance vocal sensitivity. The small bones in the ear are also being modified under the influence of chakra. The malleus, incus, and stapes are replaced with a honeycomb hollow structure to improve the speed of sound wave vibration response. Soon, the faint sounds from the shadows gradually became clearer. Gangza Tetsu discovered a suspicious blind girl, named Huili. No chakra reaction detected in the barrier. Gray glass, your name is so beautiful. Naruto's naturally loud voice left Hailey somewhat at a loss. Thanks. Eavesdropping on the whispers between the Umbu and Sarutobi, watching the look in Sarutobi Hiruzen's eyes when Naruto called out Harry's name. Like sitting on pins and needles. Less than an hour after infiltrating Konoha, he was reported to the third Hokage as a spy. The most terrifying thing is that she is currently having a pleasant conversation with the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki of Konoha, while the third Hokage is watching the whole thing. Tisk careless. End of this chapter. Chapter 32, Music. Chapter 32 Elu. Steaming heat wafted from the kitchen, the enticing aroma of meat mingled with a hint of sweetness, making Huili's already ravenous stomach churn even more violently. She just isn't in the mood to eat right now. Before he could even return to Hyaga, he was mistaken for a spy from another village by the guards of Konoha. Before he could even sit down, the report had already reached the Hokage. What's worse is that she's sitting right in front of the Hokage, having a pleasant conversation with the village's important Nine-Tails Jinchuriki. The level of suspicion has risen another notch. The Umbu left at Hiruzen Sarutobi's signal. The store fell silent for a moment. Although Naruto couldn't read the atmosphere, he remained silent in the face of his extraordinary sixth sense. Gray glass brainstorming. To dispel the third Hokage's suspicions, all you need to do is show your Byakugan. But she didn't want to reveal her disdain. My mother, Hinata Tenkui, has been away from home for many years. Who knows if my maternal grandfather, who is the head elder of the main family, is still alive. The Hyuga clan is not a monolithic entity, it has a complex set of rules. Whether she, a half Hyuga and half Tenkuri, could become the head of the main family remains to be seen. Now the white eye is being shown. This undoubtedly puts him in the spotlight. If a problem arises, the consequences will be unacceptable to her. How to do? Konoha also has the Yamanaka clan, who are skilled at searching memories. Their memories cannot withstand scrutiny. She didn't even need ninjutsu. An X-ray at Konoha Hospital would reveal that beneath her harmless appearance lay a dense periosteum covering her entire body and a skeletal structure that was definitely not human. After absorbing the flesh of the three tails, it increased its chakra reserves, a crucial source of power. She underwent even more horrific human modifications to her body. She is now 1.3 meters tall, but weighs an astonishing 200 pounds, which makes her walk a little heavy. His physical condition was also showing abnormalities uncontrollably, unlike when he was hidden in the mist, which was not so easy to conceal. This is a side effect of increased strength. No matter how well a lion disguises itself, it will be difficult for it to blend into a flock of sheep. Hokage-sama. Inside the quiet and cramped ramen shop, Huili suddenly turned her head, startling Hiruzen Sarutobi, who had been secretly observing her. "Oh, what's wrong?" Hiruzen Sarutobi stroked his beard and responded with a smile, his kind face displaying a benevolent smile that belied his status as the supreme leader of one of the 5 great ninja villages. "If you have any questions, please ask them directly. Please don't keep staring at me like that." Naruto, who had been openly staring at Huili's beautiful profile, immediately lowered his head upon hearing this. Hiruzen Sarutobi couldn't help but awkwardly twitch the corner of his mouth. Young girls these days are so direct. Although his eyes were covered by a cloth strip, how could his senses be more sensitive than those of an ordinary person? A question flashed through my mind. Seeing that Carrie had discovered their discovery of her problem, Hiruzen Sarutobi was no longer afraid of alerting her and asked directly, "Huili, are you an outsider? Didn't that ANBU member just tell you? Your hearing is very good. That's it. What are you doing in Konoha?" "To find my family, become a ninja, and seek revenge." "How did you manage to fool the chakra perception barrier?" "An innate ability." Huili controlled her heart rate and pulse, nonchalantly fabricating lies. No matter how closely Hiruzen Sarutobi stared, he couldn't find a single flaw. "To become a Konoha ninja, you must enter the Ninja Academy. The Konoha Ninja Academy only accepts native Konoha residents and does not accept wandering ninjas from outside the village." As the principal of the Ninja Academy, Hiruzen Sarutobi bluntly rejected her application for admission. Huili smiled. She stretched out her finger, her slender, fair fingertip pointing towards the kettle behind the bar. Hiruzen Sarutobi and Naruto, who was secretly watching, looked over almost simultaneously. The kettle lid shook violently. Boiling water gushed from the curved spout, and to their astonishment, it leaped high into the air, splitting into 3 equal portions that flowed into the teacups in front of them. "This is a ninjutsu without a seal." "Wrong. It's a bloodline limit." As Hiruzen Sarutobi stared at the still, undisturbed water in the cup, its surface as smooth as ice, his heart was filled with turbulent emotions. Water release can be used without hand seals. He still moves with such ease and precision, even more so than he does, something that would be impossible for someone of Huili's age. Only a mysterious bloodline limit could possess such power. "Isn't this okay?" Meeting Sarutobi's surprised gaze, Harry asked with a smile. "This is all she has on her body that she can display. But it's enough. No ninja village would be willing to use a precious bloodline ninja as a spy, especially a genius who awakened his bloodline at such a young age. It's not worth it, and it's too conspicuous." The combination of the Three Tails' unsealed water release techniques and the Byakugan's extraordinary chakra control makes her a formidable opponent in terms of water release control, even against Tobirama Senju. Although her true identity remains in doubt, the identity of a spy has nothing to do with her anymore. As long as she isn't mistaken for a spy, once she reveals her Byakugan and returns to the Hyuga main family, any issues regarding her identity can be resolved with the family's support. She had no choice but to reveal a portion of her power, which was a stopgap measure when she had no other options. "Huili, you're amazing. Can you teach me?" Naruto, standing to the side, was completely stunned. He examined the hot water in the glass from top to bottom, and even curiously took a sip, sticking out his tongue as it was scalded. "This can't be taught. What do you say, third Hokage?" Ignoring the somewhat dejected Naruto, Harry looked at Hiruzen Sarutobi. "It's really amazing." After the initial surprise, the hostility in Hiruzen Sarutobi's eyes lessened slightly. He understood what Huili meant. Given the rarity and value of bloodline ninjas, even that old man Danzo wouldn't stoop to sending bloodline ninjas as spies. That wasn't sending spies, it was simply transferring talent. If any leader of a ninja village were to send a bloodline ninja as an undercover agent, Hiruzen Sarutobi would be more than happy to welcome him. He would give you any intelligence you wanted directly, without you having to ask. As long as your bloodline spy can have children, that's fine. That's a precious bloodline limit. Known as the professor of ninjutsu, he is not as good as a little girl in terms of water release control. That's how enviable bloodline power is. Hiruzen Sarutobi pondered for a moment and then slowly said, bloodline ninjas are indeed rare, but Konoha has its rules. Outsiders are not allowed to enter the ninja academy. This is a rule set by the second Hokage, and no one can break it. No problem, I respect the rules. Huili smiled and nodded. She also understood the unspoken meaning in Sarutobi's words. Outsiders cannot enter the ninja academy, but conversely, once she becomes a member of Konoha, she can enter the ninja academy. The problem has become simple. The noodles are here. Ayame and Tetsuya emerged from the kitchen carrying 3 bowls of tonkotsu ramen. The tense atmosphere was broken by the two of them. We don't talk about work during meals. As it should be. An old man and a young boy nodded to each other, seemingly sharing the same unspoken understanding despite being complete strangers. Wow, it smells so good. Naruto stared excitedly at the ramen in front of him, a happy smile almost overflowing from his face. Gray glass, you should try it. Huili picked up a piece of pork bone with ease and tasted it. Salty and savory, soft and sweet. Delicious. Naruto's recommendation is definitely great. Hey. When praised by his new friend, Naruto proudly put his hands on his hips and laughed, just like Squirtle in a meme. Upon seeing this, Sarutobi's wrinkles deepened even further. How many bowls are you planning to eat this time? The middle-aged man squinted, wiped his wet hands on the apron in front of him, and said to Naruto with a smile. 5 bowls. Naruto opened his palm and made a big 5. Oh, that's really impressive, Naruto. I'm so impressed, the middle-aged man said dramatically. My wallet is going to suffer. Hiruzen Sarutobi shook his head helplessly, looking heartbroken. Then we should eat as much as we want, right Naruto? Yes. Miss Changkyu covered her mouth and chuckled. In a pleasant atmosphere, the tense atmosphere inside the ramen shop completely dissipated. Watching Naruto laugh heartily, eat heartily, and occasionally make funny faces, Huili pursed her lips and looked up at the ramen sign with the word Ichiraku on the wall. She couldn't help but feel warm and peaceful. In such a harsh environment, it is hoped that Naruto will be able to maintain an optimistic and positive attitude in the future. The atmosphere here is less like a noodle shop and more like a family gathering. Ichiraku ramen is not just about noodles. End of this chapter. Chapter 33 Cold Reception. Chapter 33 Cold Reception. Gray glass, is amazing. Ichiraku ramen. Naruto stared in disbelief at the blind girl beside him, who was holding a bowl and gulping down the entire bowl of noodles without even using chopsticks. On the bar counter next to it, the bowls of noodles were already stacked higher than the gray glass itself. This is the 20th bowl. That's an amazing appetite. The middle-aged man, sweating profusely, slammed the dough against the work surface. For a chef, failing to satisfy a customer's appetite is a more shameful thing than the sword scars on a samurai's back. Hiruzen Sarutobi glanced at his rather meager wallet, then at the 5 large bowls beside Naruto, and even felt somewhat fortunate. Fortunately, he didn't eat as much as that girl. Stop fussing, Uncle Handstrike, I've almost finished eating. After finishing the noodle soup, Huili stood up and casually pulled out a wad of bright green banknotes from the bag behind her. Changkyu looked at the stack of money and rummaged through the small pocket on the front of her apron where she kept change. This is too much. It's okay, just leave the extra here, I'll come back here to eat next time. Shouldering their bags, they picked up their white canes. Huili suddenly turned her head and looked at Naruto, who was staring at her expectantly. Goodbye, Naruto-kun. Goodbye Gray Glass. Naruto straightened his neck, an overwhelming sense of joy welling up inside him. Harry, are we friends now? Hold head high. Gray Glass, who had already walked away, gave a light, airy reply that drifted into Naruto's heart on the wind. After many years, gazing at the blazing sun high in the sky, Naruto, now the Hokage, would involuntarily recall that afternoon when he ate noodles with Harry. Sungay tribe. The neatly cut bluestone path in front of the gate radiates heat, and the ebony-colored gate, with its heavy pillars and beams, exudes majesty. The doors are inlaid with bagua, 8 trigrams, reliefs, serving as a unique symbol of Hyuga. Noble and mysterious, exuding the aura of a great family. 2 white-eyed guards with white cloths wrapped around their foreheads stood on either side of the entrance. It's so hot. Hinata Sato wiped the sweat from his forehead with his sleeve, muttering a complaint under his breath. Sato, we represent the Hyuga clan, so please don't be impolite. TCH, there's no one around at this time, what's the point of being impolite? Besides, brother, we're a branch family, we can't be the face of the Hyuga clan. Sato said in a sarcastic tone. Hinata Yuijin glanced at his younger brother but said nothing more. The fate of separating from the family is already sealed. Being planted like a caged bird, with its life no longer in its own hands, what's wrong with complaining a little in private? Dong dong dong. Just as the two were chatting, a small figure suddenly appeared on the bluestone path ahead. The newcomer, holding a white cane and blindfolded, was none other than Harry, who had come from Ichiraku Ramen. Huili observed with her Byakugan activated, and apart from the two branch family members at the entrance, she did not find any other Hyuga clan members. It seems, everyone is taking a nap. I don't know if Konoha is more comfortable or Hyuga is more comfortable. With such lax security, it's no wonder that Hinata Hyuga, the eldest daughter of the main branch of the family, was kidnapped by Kumagakure. Just as Harry was observing Hinata Yuto also discovered Harry's location. This is Hyuga clan territory. Unauthorized personnel are not permitted to enter. Hinata Yuto issued the expulsion order in a cold and hard tone, looking down at Harry with his Byakugan. The humility of a branch family is only shown to the main family, and only when facing ordinary people outside can they gain some of the pride and dignity that belongs to the great clan. Dong dong. Huili stepped forward, carrying her white cane. I'm looking for the eldest elder of your Hyuga main family. I'm a friend of her daughter. Friend. Suoren stepped forward, scrutinized Huili's appearance, his gaze lingering on her blindfolded eyes, before he sneered, "Stop lying, you little blind man. The grand elder doesn't have a daughter, so where would he get a friend?" Huili narrowed her eyes slightly. The grand elder has no daughter. The Hyuga main family originally didn't have many members. These two aren't young, how could they not recognize Hyuga Tenmei, who's only been dead for 6 years? Could it be that the grand elder has been replaced? Is the head elder of the main family still Hyuga Kagami? Upon hearing the familiar name, the brothers who had separated from the family exchanged a glance. This person seems to actually know the grand elder. It's still Elder Hyuga K, but he doesn't have a daughter, only a son. Young lady, are you sure you haven't come to the wrong person? Upon hearing Huili mention Elder Jing's name, Hinata Yuijin's tone was no longer as cold and hard as before. You don't know Hinata Aoi. Upon hearing the name Hinata Aoi from the blind woman in front of them, the two paused, their expressions suddenly turning grim. Suoren's eyes revealed resentment. That idiot not only died himself, but also left his precious Byakugan in Kurigakure, bringing shame to the Hyuga clan. How many people died cleaning up her messes after we split up the family? The first elder severed ties with her long ago, stripped her of her main family status, and completely expelled her from the Hyuga clan. Get lost, you little blind man, or don't blame us for being impolite. Stripped of their status as the head of the clan, Huili was startled upon hearing this. What's shocking isn't the ruthlessness of the Hyuga clan. What kind of good family would they be to carve caged bird seals on their own members and punish them for no reason? She was already mentally prepared for the Hyuga clan's nature. She never expected that her mother, Hyuga Tenmei, would be stripped of her status as a member of the main family simply because she lost her Byakugan. They don't even spare a dead person. In this way, as Hinata Aoi's daughter, she could only become a branch family member who was imprisoned like a caged bird. The return to Hinata plan. Bankrupt. Huili suddenly looked up into the doorway and exclaimed in surprise, Elder Jing. The brothers who had separated from their family instinctively turned around. Ugh. 2 azure water whips appeared out of thin air from Huili's hands. It was lashed straight at him. The expanding water flowed like tentacles, rhythmically drilling into his mouth and nose, gurgling into his stomach. Ugh, gurgle. Suoren watched as his brother's stomach grew increasingly bloated, with Huili continuously pouring water into his belly, as if it were about to burst him at any moment. Call, chakra was drawn from the heart and attached to the hands, forming hand seals. Ugh. Before his chakra could even enter his eyes, the water gushed over his face and rushed into his nasal cavity. Trying to grasp the flowing water with both hands is futile. Hinata Sato struggled frantically, and his oxygen was being consumed even more rapidly. The water flowed into the lung cavity, expanding the alveoli. Diluted blood poured back into his chest, as if gripping his heart with a giant hand. Suffocation and pain brought forth a fear that emanated from the depths of his soul. Looking through the clear water at the blind girl's distorted face, Hinata Sato, who could no longer speak, had eyes filled with pleading and panic. This girl was completely different from the people he usually interacted with. It looks soft and smooth on the surface. But once they start fighting, they reek of disgusting blood, as if they've just returned from the battlefield. There was no argument, no words spoken. Killing them is as easy as crushing an ant, so commonplace that it doesn't warrant any emotional reaction or even a word. How could there be such a person? The regret in Hyuga Sato's heart was like wildly growing seaweed wrapped around his neck, making the oxygen in his chest and abdomen increasingly scarce. Confusion of consciousness. Help. Gugu. Grey Glass raised his hand, his 5 fingers forming a claw, and the water flowed even more violently. A grasp in midair, gum. Glug. Within the water sphere enveloping its head, 2 enormous pink bubbles appeared. 2 white-eyed guards, their bellies swollen like balloons, rolled their eyes and fell silent. The caged bird spell was quietly activated. A green light flashed across their terrified eyes, completely damaging the internal structure of their eyeballs. It has been confirmed that both individuals are completely dead. Wow! With a wave of her right hand, Huili caused the pink water to quickly recede, taking away all the moisture from her body in the process. Only 2 bizarre corpses remained on the ground, both drowned and dried out. Huili bent down and quickly formed hand seals, pressing his hands against the foreheads of the 2 people. Substitution technique, reverse. A cloud of smoke flashed by. The chakra enveloped the two corpses, transforming them into two thirsty carp. Pack it into a package. Huili looked up and took a deep look at the Bagua symbol on the Hyaga gate, then turned and left the Hyaga clan's territory. End of this chapter. Chapter 34. A Fateful Encounter. Greyly, our Hyaga clan's Gentle Fist is the world's strongest taijutsu, combining offense and defense. When combined with the Byakugan, it can counter all taijutsu, ninjutsu, and genjutsu. Bagua is a closely guarded secret of the Hyaga main family at most. I can only teach you the basics of awakening your eye and Gentle Fist. With only 2 bloody holes left in her eyes, Hinata Tenkui still spoke proudly. Konoha Street. The walking stick and the package were placed on the ground. Having left Hinata, Harry, draped in a white cloak, sat alone on the ground. Even after losing her eyes, Hinata's always gentle and tender face kept appearing in her memory. Optimistic, positive, kind, gentle, pure, selfless. The qualities that Huili completely lacked seemed to be found in that woman. You kept the secret of Gentle Fist for them, not even teaching it to your own daughter. In the end, the Hyaga clan kicked you out of the party long ago. How ridiculous, Hinata Tenkamai. Huili chuckled and shook her head, a gesture that seemed both mocking and pitying. The inability to return to Hinata is not a big deal for her. With her strength, she can find refuge anywhere in the world except for the hidden mist village. She simply hadn't expected that the Hyaga clan wouldn't even put on a show, not even leaving Hyaga Tenkui the title of the main family. Fortunately, she didn't rashly show off her Byakugan and return as soon as she arrived in Konoha. The bodies of the 2 brothers who had separated from the family had been smashed into mincemeat and thrown into the river. No one knew that she had ever been to the Hyaga clan's territory, let alone that she had any connection with Hyaga Tenkui. There is still some room for maneuver. Gray glass gently touched her eyes. The wide strip of black fabric feels silky and smooth to the touch. She probably can't live without this for the time being. Once the whites of the eyes are stimulated, the veins around the eyes and even extending to the cheeks will bulge. Its appearance is obviously abnormal. If you expose yourself by rolling your eyes, the Hyaga clan, which places great importance on bloodlines, would never allow her to drift outside their control. Before she possesses power comparable to the Hyaga clan, she will eventually need to choose between a mask and a blindfold to conceal the special state she has after activating her Byakugan. She wasn't used to wearing a mask. A blindfold was more convenient. In short, her plan to return to the Hyaga main family has completely failed, and she must continue to pretend to be blind. If she wants to legally access Konoha's ninjutsu and secret techniques, she must find a way to become a Konoha villager. Illegal methods can be used, but caution is advised. Her body is far from reaching maturity. The peace and stability of Konoha were far more precious to her than any so-called secret technique, as she needed time to develop. To enter the ninja academy and become a ninja, take the populist approach. He needs to make a name for himself at school, try to attract investment from the Third Hokage, and find ways to avoid the potential threat from Danzo and his root organization. Ideally, he should find a powerful backer. One by one, Huili sat on the street, trying hard to find a way to fix her already collapsed plan. Tall beech trees on the south side of the street. Wow, the pages turn. In the shadows of the treetops, the silver-haired, one-eyed ANBU ninja leaned against a tree trunk, bored, having already read more than half of the thick copy of Ika Ika Paradise in his hand. Afternoon. The Third Hokage personally issued the order. Secretly monitor a bloodline ninja who has infiltrated Konoha with unclear motives. The other party is probably not a spy from another village, but we still need to be vigilant against unidentified ninjas infiltrating our village. If we discover any attempt to harm Konoha, we can arrest them immediately. Ah, ha. Kakashi Hatake yawned, tears welling in his eyes, and turned another page of Ika Ika Paradise in his hand. He then looked down at the blind woman who was still squatting there motionless on the street. He had seen the blind girl sitting there ever since he found her. She had been there for half the afternoon. Perhaps the girl was disabled and pitiful, or perhaps she was just too beautiful and cute. Many passers-by mistook her for a blind beggar on the street and threw her a lot of loose change, as well as snacks and dried fruit, until it piled up into a small hill in front of her. There were also quite a few young beauties in their 20s, with fair skin, beautiful faces, big breasts and round hips, who were overflowing with maternal love and wanted to adopt. Even after being rejected, they were still reluctant to leave, turning back every few steps. When Kakashi was bored, he counted the loose change on the ground. I have enough to buy 7 or 8 of the limited edition Intimate Paradise books I own, and I still have some left over. His covert surveillance mission this time was classified as level C, and the reward he received was about what it was. No, why should I? Kakashi scratched his silver broom-like hair in envy. Silver gray hair, bloodline ninja, blindness. I have all those traits too. Why haven't I ever encountered this kind of treatment? Kakashi, who usually wears a mask and never shows his face, was puzzled. It's unfair, but that's all. Seeing that the girl below showed no sign of leaving anytime soon, he simply stayed in the tree and started watching the love paradise. You can make money just by squatting there, and I can do the same by lying down and slacking off. Thinking about it this way, Kakashi felt much more at peace. Time passes gradually. The setting sun cast its radiant glow before quickly disappearing, leaving only a half-shadowy yellow hue on the horizon. The streets grew increasingly deserted. The once bustling Central Avenue has become deserted, with only the pitiful blind girl still squatting by the roadside, appearing even more lonely and forlorn. Why hasn't she left yet? Kakashi rubbed his eyes and put the Ika Ika Paradise in his pocket. It was too dark for the words on the pages to be clearly seen. It's almost 7 o'clock. Doesn't she eat? You don't even go to the toilet. Are bloodline ninjas really that ruthless? Kakashi was completely baffled by the sight of Ash sitting there for half the afternoon. Due to the nature of the mission, I could only watch quietly. The third Hokage assigned him the task of monitoring Konoha for at least 3 days until he was certain that the Konoha harbored no ill will towards him. This person possesses unknown sensory abilities and uses a special water-style technique without a seal. The specific mechanism of action is still unclear. Therefore, Kakashi, who possesses the Sharingan and can directly observe chakra, is tasked with monitoring and probing, figuring out the principles behind the opponent's ninjutsu, and finding weaknesses. If you have the chance, try to copy her water release technique without any seals. If the blind woman continues to remain motionless here, all he could do was stay here with her and feed the mosquitoes. Just as Kakashi was lost in thought, the sun had already set, and suddenly a series of footsteps echoed through the dimly lit street. Kakashi looked in the direction of the sound. I saw. A monster suddenly appeared on the dimly lit road. The monster was green all over, with short lower limbs and long, bent upper limbs, and it kept making panting sounds. The most terrifying thing is that this monster has no head. Kakashi's heart tightened, and he quickly lifted the headband over his eyes. The blood-red 3, pendant spun continuously. The monster's form instantly became clear, even the shiny watermelon head at its crotch became dazzling. Isn't that Kai? Kakashi reluctantly closed his Sharingan and rubbed his eyes. I'm experiencing double vision after reading novels for a long time. Wait, Kai. Kakashi seemed to sense something and looked down at the girl who had been sitting there silently. I don't know when. The blind woman, who had been squatting on the ground, slightly raised her head. His eyes, completely covered by a black cloth, gazed at Akai in the distance through the fabric, like an old hunter who had finally waited for his prey to take the bait. End of this chapter. Chapter 35 Met Kai. The waning moon was bright and clear, its light stretched into thin threads that pierced through the mesh of the gauze window and scattered on the stone platform like shattered jade. Dining table in the living room. Under the incandescent light, Mat Kai held the bottom of his bowl, gazing thoughtfully at the girl sitting upright across the table. The girl is about 1.3 meters tall and looks to be about 6 or 7 years old. A large white cloak covered her slender body and most of her legs, while her long, silver-gray hair was casually draped over her shoulders, reflecting a faint metallic matte luster under the light. His face was covered with a black cloth strip. The strips of cloth were thick and the edges were not neat, like shreds torn from some clothes, completely covering the girl's eyes, cheeks, nose, and bridge of the nose. A day of grueling training has come to an end. On his way home upside down, he saw a pitiful blind girl sitting alone by the roadside, hugging her body, so he took her home. That's probably what happened. Give. Thank you. Huili naturally accepted the ramen and bowl and chopsticks handed to her by Mat Kai, politely thanked him, and moved freely. The eye mask on her face seemed to be just decoration. He picked up a mouthful of noodles with his chopsticks and elegantly put it into his mouth almost silently, while in contrast, Mat Kai made a snoring sound like a boar rooting for food. Turulurula. Mat Kai held the bowl, tilted his head back, and poured the ramen and broth into his mouth, making a sound like a tractor harvesting wheat. He then turned around and ran to the kitchen to fill a large bowl and continued slurping. I jogged 10 laps around the leaf in the morning, did 1,000 single-finger handstand push-ups per finger in the morning, and did high-intensity anaerobic weightlifting in the afternoon. He was really hungry. Suck. Huili gracefully finished her ramen, then got up to go to the kitchen to get more rice. Her eating speed was not much slower than Might Guy's. Lulu Gray Glass, you, hiccup. Can you see? Mat Kai burped, his body twitching, and looked at Gray Glass, who moved freely. His small eyes, under his round, reflective watermelon head, were full of surprise. He had assumed the girl was a blind, helpless orphan who could only beg on the street, but now it seemed things weren't quite as he had imagined. Upon hearing Might Guy's question, Gray Glass's lifeless gray eyes, hidden beneath the blindfold, shifted slightly. A 360-degree view unfolds seamlessly, and all the surrounding objects become semi-transparent, revealing their hidden structures and outlines. The refrigerator contained milk and fruit that were about to expire. The bedroom had a wallet full of coins with only a few bills. A secret scroll was hidden under the bed. A comic book with a sexy woman on the cover, and even Might Guy was standing in front of him. From the inside out, the muscle texture, bones, internal organs, and even the slowly flowing chakra in the meridians are all clearly visible without any concealment. Blind. Huili tilted her head and pointed to her eyes, which were covered by a black cloth, her voice clear and her tone calm. I'm sorry. Mentioning someone else's injury is impolite, so Might Guy quickly apologized and stopped dwelling on Gray's unusual speed. It's okay, thank you for making me ramen, it was delicious. Being praised for his cooking skills for the first time, Akai touched his watermelon head, his mouth almost stretched to his ears, but he still pretended to be calm. It was just something I made, little sister, eat up, don't be shy. Little did he know that his performance had been seen through by Yen even through the blindfold. Turulurula, amidst laughter and conversation, Matkai downed another large bowl of food. Every taijutsu-type ninja is a hidden glutton. And gray glass. Corpse bone pulse plus white eyes. Speaking of her two types of mutated bloodline limits, they are both genuine physical killers. The two are combined, leaving aside the 8 gates formation. She even dared to say that she would become the grandfather of all taijutsu-type ninjas in the future. Oh no, it should be her biological grandmother. The chopsticks tapped the bottom of the bowl with a crisp sound, and the ramen in the gray glass bowl was completely gone. I'll do it. Without hesitation, the eldest grandson, Matkai, grabbed a large bowl in each hand and dashed into the kitchen. Dinner time passed quickly. Matkai hadn't expected Gray to have such a big appetite, so he hadn't made that much ramen. After they each finished 2 large bowls, only a little oily broth remained in the pot. There's nothing in the pot. Matkai, returning from the kitchen with an empty gray bowl filled with noodle soup, saw the pitiful and helpless blind girl who had just been homeless on the street. He squatted down and casually opened her dirty beige package. Click. Matkai accidentally broke the rice bowl full of soup, spilling soup all over the floor, but he had no time to care. In the package the largest denomination banknotes of the Land of Fire, a vibrant green, were bundled together in a thick stack of yellow craft paper. It was even thicker than the bricks he used to pave the floor when he was a genin and had to take on bricklaying jobs from Konoha villagers because he had no money for food. The exact amount of these thick money bricks was unknown. They were piled up in the package like waste paper, while what he thought were old clothes were folded neatly and sandwiched between the money bricks. Doesn't this clothing reek of money? Matkai, who had never seen so much money in his life, silently complained to himself. Here. Gray took out a stack of money bricks from the bag. The money was so thick that he couldn't hold it with one hand, so he had to use both hands to hold it. He turned around and handed it to the dazed Matkai. This is for me. Oh, there's food and lodging included. I don't need this much. Consider the rest as my gratitude for taking you in. This. Perhaps because of poverty, Matkai's naturally loud voice became soft and gentle. Looking at Huili, who was standing in the middle of the room, waving banknotes with an air of wealth and power, I suddenly felt like I was the beggar who had been picked up from the roadside. That's not right, accommodation fee. I didn't say you could stay at my house, but, after weighing the heavy brick in his hand, Matkai swallowed his thoughts silently. His tired body, exhausted from training, automatically channeled its strength to help him clean up the dishes and sweep the soup off the floor. Looking at Matkai's hesitant expression, he seemed to want to say something but couldn't. Having experienced throwing money at people for the first time, Huili secretly sighed in her heart. No matter how the world changes, some things are universal. Leaving the dock where the hell was moored, she went back to confront Okuri Fumiko. He knew there was something wrong with the ship. Long before Harry approached him, Orochimaru and Zabuza had both obtained some money from him, and the tickets for the Hope also came from him. Sure enough, before everyone runs away, they always choose to pull off one big heist first. Everyone's thinking is pretty much the same. At last, Grey Glass plundered the cash flow of nearby casinos. The cash in the package was only a drop in the ocean. The rest was deposited in an anonymous account in the Land of Fire. Due to the large amount involved, the annual interest was a considerable sum. Akai. The two had already exchanged names, and Huili simply called him by the name she was familiar with from her previous life. What happened? Akai knelt on the ground, wiping the noodle soup off the floor with a rag, and turned to ask Huili when he heard her call. Do you have a girlfriend? What? End of this chapter. Chapter 36 Planning. Chapter 36 Planning. If I didn't have a girlfriend, then No. Matkai threw down the rag and jumped up. He waved his hands and shook his head at Huili's small face, a strange blush spreading across his resolute features. I'll be arrested and thrown in jail. What are you thinking? I'm asking you to adopt me, Huili explained, her face full of exasperation. Adopt. Matkai froze, his eyes widening beneath his thick eyebrows. This was indeed an answer he had never considered. You should be able to tell him not an ordinary person, right? Huili picked up her cane from the ground and picked up the beige package. Matkai nodded. Who would carry so much cash when they go out? Moreover, despite having his eyes covered, he moved so freely that it was hard to tell whether he was truly blind or pretending. I'm not a native of Konoha. I came here only to become a ninja. The Konoha Ninja Academy doesn't accept outsiders, so I have to find a way to get a Konoha residency. A concise explanation of Grey Glass. Seeing that Matkai's tense features relaxed slightly, clearly indicating he understood, he continued, You adopt me and help me become a Konoha ninja. I'll pay you a reward. It's a win-win situation, how about it? This. Matkai hesitated. He just turned 21 this year. He became a jonin a year ago. He doesn't have a girlfriend and hasn't considered getting married or having children. So adopting Grey Glass doesn't really cause any problems. The key issue is that he is indeed short of money. Knowing only physical skills, he can only accept combat-type missions. Opening the 8 gates once leaves him covered in injuries sometimes. A single mission isn't even enough to cover his hospital bills in Konoha. Not to mention the daily necessities such as food, clothing and other necessities. Nutritional supplements, meat, medicine, and clothing wear and tear all consume a great deal of resources. In other words, after becoming a Jonin, the rewards for the missions he could receive became increasingly generous. Otherwise, he would probably still have to borrow money from his best friend Kakashi to make ends meet. The terms of the deal proposed by Huili were indeed not difficult for him, and the reward was visibly generous. But isn't this a bit too sudden? We just met, exchanged names, and had a meal together, and now we're supposed to become family. It seems a bit too. Bang, bang, 2 bricks slammed onto the floor in front of Matt Kai, the heavy sound like 2 sledgehammers striking his heart, shattering his composure. If you agree, from today onwards, I will provide you with all your food, clothing, daily necessities, training equipment, medicine, and ninja tools. I don't feel bad for selling my father's land. Not to mention the money was stolen. Huili smoothed a strand of silver-gray hair from her temple, her tone unusually arrogant. I have some rare medicinal oils and secret formulas for practicing physical skills. They should be better than those on the market. I'll provide them to you for free. As a family renowned for its martial arts, the Bamboo clan actually knew quite a few of the relevant recipes. Oh. The more Grayly spoke, the more Matt Kai's expression softened. Especially when it came to the secret medicine, the features of the cultivation maniac Might Guy visibly relaxed. Finally, I can give you a fixed allowance every month. Enough. Might Guy waved his hand to interrupt Gray, who was still escalating the situation, his eyes resolute and full of enthusiasm. The blue beast of Konoha is at your service. Slam la. Matt Kai was tidying up Gray Glass's guest room, organizing the bedding and other items on the bed. Huili sat on the bench, watching Akai busily cleaning, her cherry-pink lips curving into a beautiful arc. The fish is hooked. In the afternoon, as she scanned the streets of Konoha with her Byakugan, she spotted Might Guy sweating profusely in the training ground. This caught the eye of Haley, who was looking for a powerful backer and to obtain Konoha residency. Akai is a good person with great skills, but he's not very smart and is also very poor. Thinking about it, it's ridiculously appropriate. Most importantly, that's the 8 gates formation. His steel-like body is not afraid of being damaged, combined with the powerful chakra brought by the 8 gates, and the ability to control his body by gathering the power of all the muscle fibers in one place. Huili dared not imagine how terrifying her future physical skills would be. So she waited for Akai all afternoon on the road she always took after leaving the training ground. Huang Tian deserves a caring person. Kind-hearted Guy couldn't bear to see the pitiful blind girl sleeping in the open on the streets of Konoha. Before she could even utter her fabricated tragic backstory, he had already imagined her miserable fate and took her home. This would save Huili from having to waste her breath. After all, Kakashi had been watching her from the tree for almost an afternoon and knew some of her secrets. Acting under such circumstances required a certain degree of conviction. He should have already reported to Hiruzen Sarutobi by now. Huili thought of Kakashi, who was yawning as he watched the make-out paradise from the tree. Sarutobi and Kakashi knew Guy's strength best. If she were with Guy, any schemes she might have would be suppressed by his powerful strength. This way they can rest assured and won't send anyone else to monitor them. Tomorrow, I will complete the adoption process with Akai to legally establish our kinship. After that, she could freely display her talent and gain fame. As long as it doesn't harm Konoha, no one will dare to lay a hand on her openly. A powerful backer, a Konoha identity, a taijutsu instructor, a future sparring partner, the 8 gates secret technique, plus a housekeeper who cleans and a chef who cooks. Give Akai a salary. She solved all the problems she encountered upon arriving in Konoha in one go. She didn't have to worry about the trivialities of life, allowing her to focus entirely on her path to becoming a stronger ninja. Aside from needing to legally recognize a godfather, it's practically perfect. Dong dong dong. Hearing the strange noise, Akai, who was wiping the headboard, quickly turned around. But they found that Huili had already gone into the house. The room isn't ready yet. No one has lived here for a long time. I've been using this place as a storage room. If Huili wants to rest, you can stay in my room for the night, and I'll move back here after I've tidied this place up. Matt Kai said carefully. His expression resembled that of a corporate slave accompanying his boss on a business trip. Huili shook her head. You're too slow to pack by yourself, I'll help you. As he spoke, he bent down, picked up a clean rag, and followed Akai to tidy up. This won't work. Nothing is impossible, Kai. Huili turned the tarpaulin in her hand over and continued wiping the floor. Although our relationship started with money, after tomorrow, we'll be family. Family. Akai's expression changed. Since his father Matt Day passed away, he has been all alone, and the word family has become unfamiliar and distant to him. Wow. The pile of clutter was accidentally knocked over by Grey Glass's elbow. The spotless glass picture frame tumbled and fell, its target aimed directly at Grey Glass's forehead. At this moment, Huili was still wiping with her head down, seemingly unaware of what was happening. Careful. Kai was shocked and quickly reached out to grab it. Swish, a small, fair hand reached out and caught the photo frame precisely. "Don't worry, Kai, I have my own way of perceiving things." Handing the photo frame with 2 green figures printed on it back to Akai, Huili unhesitatingly revealed her sensory abilities. "This is a very important secret. No secret is more important than family." He blankly accepted the photo frame. After glancing at Huili, who had left a message, she squatted down again to clean the room. Akai's rough fingers caressed the familiar yet unfamiliar man. The girl's gentle voice echoed in his heart, mirroring his father's deep words from the past. Family, looking at Huili, who was squatting on the floor, busily tidying up. Having lost his father and lived alone for a long time, Akai's lonely heart seemed to be filled with the shadow of his childhood. He glanced at Kai from behind, who seemed lost in thought and dazed. Huili's lips curved slightly. That's why she insisted on coming to Konoha. It doesn't matter what the original plot is like. Every time a butterfly flaps its wings, it can create a huge storm, let alone a living person like Huili. The key point is that she is familiar with every key figure in Konoha. As the saying goes, it's easier to change mountains and rivers than to change one's nature. Everyone's weaknesses are hard to alter. By understanding these weaknesses, she can easily strike at the softest part of everyone's heart. Starting from this point, nothing will be unsuccessful. It's so much easier to survive in Konoha than in other mysterious and unknown ninja villages. End of this chapter. Chapter 37 Chasing the Sun. Chapter 37 Chasing the Sun. The next morning, Huili and Might Guy arrived at the Hokage building, first floor. The spacious and bright hall was bustling with people coming and going. The entire leaf. All matters, such as posting tasks, opening shops, and renting accommodations, must be handled here. "Greetings, Ninja Master. I am Saeda Fuka, your clerk. Please come this way to complete the adoption procedures." A tall, fair-skinned blonde beauty smiled and guided Matt Kai and Graylee, who had explained their purpose, to the counter. Beneath her black overalls, her shapely thighs moved slightly. As she passed by the two, she brought with her an alluring fragrance, like that of roses. Might Guy and Grey Glass followed behind the beauty, attracting envious glances from the surrounding men. Of course, the main focus was on Fuka Saeda and Might Guy. One is admiration, the other is jealousy. Well, some people are the opposite. She avoided the burning gazes of the muscular men with disgust. Huili Mei disappeared into the shadows, carrying a small white cane and following behind Might Guy, waiting to complete the adoption procedures before going to the Ninja Academy to enroll. She's in a good mood today. A stable period of development is about to begin. With training and age, her abilities will naturally improve dramatically. 10 years later, Kagaya Atsutsuki broke the seal and was resurrected in Madara Uchiha's body. In order to prepare for the possible cataclysmic crisis that is about to come, she must at least obtain the power of the 6 paths before that happens. In a way, the ranking system in the ninja world is quite similar to the hierarchical system in fantasy novels. There are 10 ranks from lowest to highest: Ninja Academy Student, Genin, Chunin, Special Jonin, Jonin, Elite Jonin, Kage, Super Kage, 6 paths, and Konoha Genin. The first 3 levels are essentially of the same level. Just like elementary school, middle school, and high school, they are actually just different age groups of the same person. You can just follow the steps. Of course, there are also those who drop out of junior high school. The most representative figure is Matt Day. Generally, a special jonin is a ninja with some talent, roughly equivalent to the top few in a regular class. They have some strength, but not much, and are in the upper middle tier of the ninja world. Starting as a jonin, one officially becomes part of the management team and enters the upper echelons of the ninja world. They have the right to participate in village decision-making, and many jonin hold official titles. She's using all her skills now, and her strength is probably at the jonin level, though she's rather specialized in one area. Next up are the top combatants of each village, Elite Jonin. Each village's key figures and Elite Jonin have their own unique titles, serving as their symbolic representation. Since only 5 Kage can exist in the ninja world, many top-tier Elite Jonin actually possess Kage-level strength. Then there are the shadows of the 5 major villages. Hashirama Senjo and Madara Uchiha, 2 great Kage. Naruto and Sasuke in their later stages, can be considered 6 paths. Kagaya Atsutsuki should also be a 6 paths cultivator, but she is much stronger than Naruto and Sasuke. Huili counted on her fingers. Her strength is at least 100,000 Kakashis away from Kagaya's. I need to step up my game. Let's set a small goal first. Before graduating from the Ninja Academy, at the age of 12, he possessed the strength of an all-around elite jonin, just as Huili secretly set her goal. Matt Kai, who was filling out a form with paper and pen in hand, suddenly turned around and asked, "Hey, Huili, what's your last name?" Akai's sudden question caught Huili off guard, who was lost in thought. Once I came to my senses, my brain started working at lightning speed. Take Torai, Hinata, neither of them will work. Each of their surnames is a name that resounds throughout the ninja world. Seeing that Grey Glass didn't answer for a long time, Might Guy said, "How about you just take my surname, Might?" Might Grey Glass sounds pretty good too. Forget it then. After a moment's thought, Huili said decisively, "No, my surname is Ju Ri. Grey Glass every day." The name, Take Torai Hinata, combines one syllable from each of the Chinese translations of her previous life, encompassing both her past and present lives, and representing her wishes in this life. Kagaya Atsutsuki is the progenitor of chakra in the ninja world and the goddess of the moon. She would surpass this progenitor of chakra and become the most dazzling sun in the world. Like Kwafu chasing the sun, never looking back. In the parlance of the ninja world, this is her ninja way. Chasing the sun. Grey Glass. Matt Kai respected Grey Glass's wishes. After writing her name on the form and blowing the ink to dry, Might Guy seemed to sense the strong will contained within the 4 characters, chasing the sun. Grey Glass. Born blind, living in a world of darkness, yet determined to chase the supreme sun on the horizon. This is youth. Moved to tears, Matt Kai suddenly jumped up, his voice so loud it startled the young woman waiting to fill out the form, freezing her in place and preventing her from maintaining her standard smile. The commotion drew the attention of the surrounding staff and people. Huili, you're so youthful. Oblivious to everything, Matt Kai was still jumping around, lost in his own emotions, occasionally spouting a passionate youthful quote. Don't call my name, asshole. The stares from the onlookers, as if they were looking at a fool, made Huili feel like she was sitting on pins and needles, like she had thorns in her back, like she had a fishbone stuck in her throat. She even regretted not being truly blind. She lowered her head, her little hands gripping the brim of the hat and forcefully pulling the hood of the cloak over her head. Oh. Saida Fuka couldn't help but chuckle at Harry's little antics. Looking at her impetuous adoptive father and composed daughter, her beautiful face showed a more genuine smile. Really, Huili, I'm so touched. Kai, if you really like it. The hooded figure, Grey Glass, said in a sinister tone, why don't you take my surname? How can an adoptive father take his daughter's surname? Matt Kai suddenly became like a frog that had stepped into hot water, and his voice became much louder. What does that matter? How can it be unrelated? If you yell again, I won't give you any pocket money. Sorry. All right. While the two were arguing, the adoption procedures were already completed. From now on, your family. Saida Fuka flashed her perfect 8 teeth. Matt Kai took the report she handed him. Looking at the various information about Huili and the confirmed relationship, I felt a complex and inexplicable mix of emotions. Yesterday, I didn't even have a girlfriend, and now I have a daughter this big without even realizing it. It was as if life had entered a fast lane, and before he could even take in the scenery along the way, he had already reached the destination. Father, I've become a father too. Keep this safe, let's go complete the enrollment procedures for the Ninja Academy. With a clear purpose and without wasting a moment, Huili, leaning on her white cane, walked thumping towards the outside of the building. Huili was already impatient to enter the Ninja Academy. Currently, aside from her overwhelming combat prowess, she is essentially still a half-baked ninja who only knows the 3-body technique. It's a complete waste of such exceptional talent. Given her limited understanding of ninjutsu, she probably wouldn't be able to learn even if you put some advanced ninjutsu in front of her. There was nothing they could do about the pursuit from the hidden mist village. They could only try their best to maximize their combat abilities to survive. And now, there is no longer any need to worry about safety. She needs to think about the future. Chakra form transformation, nature transformation, hand seals, sealing techniques, genjutsu, medical ninjutsu. These are profound and complex concepts. For an ordinary ninja, mastering one skill is enough to survive. But for Huili, who aspires to the 6 paths of reincarnation, with each new skill learned, the chances of entering the 6 realms increase. Lay a solid foundation. Only then can tall buildings be built. She has so many shortcomings that need to be addressed. Even if she were to equalize her knowledge and combat skills, there would still be a long way to go. The road is long and far away, and I will search up and down. Huili had made full mental preparations for her exceptionally difficult journey to reach the sun. End of this chapter. Chapter 38. Kazuma Koshi. I walked out of the administration building. Grey Glass, we're going to register for the Ninja Academy soon. How about it? Are you nervous? Is today the registration date for the Ninja Academy? Huili ignored Akai's teasing of the child and instead asked in confusion. She'd been wanting to ask that since last night. Is it really such a coincidence that I just arrived in Konoha yesterday and today is the registration day for the Ninja Academy? Matt K explained with a smile. Of course not. The Ninja Academy is divided into 3 semesters each year. 478 11 13. It's August now. Children your age in Konoha have already completed a semester of classes. If you don't want to wait, you'll have to transfer. It turned out to be the case. Huili nodded. So what were the entrance exam questions? Topic. Upon hearing those 2 words, Matt Kai suddenly recalled his father's encouragement when he entered school, and reminisced. There is only one exam for admission, chakra extraction technique. Once you learn the chakra extraction technique, complete the initial refinement of chakra, and activate the chakra seed, you can enroll. There is no time limit. When he said the last sentence, Matt Kai's expression was somewhat proud. Back then, he failed the exam because he couldn't extract chakra within the allotted time. Even after he finally managed to extract chakra, no one was willing to let him enroll. Chakra extraction technique is the simplest ninjutsu. If you can't even learn this ninjutsu quickly, you're a waste even if you enter the Ninja Academy. These are the exact words of the admissions officer at the time. Unwilling to give up, he ran on the training field, which finally moved the third Hokage, who gave him a chance. He became a Jonin through pure taijutsu. As a result, the admission process for the Ninja Academy changed. The time allotted for this activity has been removed. As long as chakra is extracted, one can enter the Ninja Academy to study. I heard that last year there was another child who couldn't learn the chakra extraction technique. After returning home, he worked tirelessly to extract chakra and was finally able to gain admission. Don't worry, Huili, you will definitely pass the exam. Hearing Might Guy's encouragement, Grey Glass nodded indifferently. She might not pass the Chunin exams. After all, the strength of Konoha's genin is very high. But the entrance exam for the Ninja Academy? Kind of funny. The Ninja Academy and the administrative office are only one street apart. As they spoke, the two had already passed through the rather simple main gate of the Ninja Academy. Entering the school, what comes into view is a 5-story teaching building with an orange exterior and a circular symbol with the character for fire printed on the top. The entrance faces a huge oval training field. Under the sunlight, dozens of short radishes lined up on the field. One by one, they threw kunao at the battered circular target in the distance. The pale gray pupils of Hui Li's eyes, hidden beneath his eye patch, suddenly contracted, and the veins at the corners of his eyes bulged as if they were about to burst, revealing the entire structure of the Ninja Academy. Training course. Uchiha Sasuke, 7th ring, excellent. Next, Uzumaki Naruto. At this time, the Uchiha clan massacre had not yet occurred. The still somewhat immature Sasuke returned to the crowd with his head held high, enjoying the screams and adoration of the girls. Sakura and Ino had the loudest voices. Cut. The blonde boy spat out a breath of air through his teeth, his face, covered with 6 whisker-like lines, filled with envy. Hurry up and stop dawdling. Umino Irika, holding the record book, shouted. Here I am, watch this. Naruto, with a large bag of kunao and shuriken in his hand, was fantasizing about how he would be adored by the girls when his throwing skills surpassed Sasuke's. He was full of vigor and high spirits. In the distance, Might Guy suddenly noticed that Grey Glass's pace had quickened considerably. Their route was almost S-shaped, as if this was not a safe ninja school, but a battlefield where kunao could fly at any moment. Before I could even ask, a shuriken flew through the wind, landing askew on the ground where Huili and his companion had just passed, kicking up a cloud of dust. In the distance came the laughter of students and the angry curses of men. Matt Kai looked at Grey Glass in disbelief. The range of perception is a bit too large, Huili said casually, making a gesture of pointing to the universe with her fingertips. Matt Kai nodded knowingly. The ninja world is filled with countless ninjutsu, secret techniques, and special abilities. Huili was alone and blind without some means of self-defense. She probably wouldn't have made it to Konoha. With such abilities, the probability of Huili becoming a ninja increased significantly. Soon the two arrived at the admissions office of the Konoha Ninja Academy. Boom boom boom. Please come in. Might Guy pushed open the door and walked into the Ninja Academy's admissions office with Gray. The office wasn't large, but it felt somewhat empty because there was only one desk inside. Behind the table sat a gaunt man wearing a green ninja vest. He looked up at Matt Kai as he walked in. Beneath his short brown hair, his dark green eyes were as still as a deep well, the most harmonious shade of green, yet utterly devoid of life. I'm Kazuma Koshi, what can I do for you? Hello, Kazuma-sensei, this is my daughter, Harry. Matt Kai didn't recognize the somewhat young and handsome teacher. He stepped aside to make way for Grey Glass behind him. We want to apply for transfer admission. Kazuma Etsu's gaze swept over Huili from head to toe, finally pausing on the black blindfold covering her face. He narrowed his eyes, and when he looked at the grinning Might Guy again, his expression turned cold. Are you kidding me? A dull voice echoed in the office, and Matt K's smile froze on his face. Huili, who was standing to the side, did not speak, but the hand gripping the white cane tightened involuntarily. A blind person cannot become a ninja. But, Huili, I will only say some things once, please reply. Kazuma Yu stopped looking at Might Guy, lowered his head, and tidied up the scattered documents on the table. Being a ninja is not child's play. That's deadly. Every ninja is a lucky one who has seen life and death and crawled out of piles of corpses. A blind man becomes a ninja, what a joke. Besides, the more Kazuma looked at Might Guy, who still had no intention of giving up, the more disgusted he felt. It's one thing for a little girl to be immature and recklessly pursue her dreams, but it's truly disgusting that an irresponsible father lets his child run wild. Kazuma-sensei, wouldn't you like to reconsider? No need to think about it anymore, Jonin might. As Kazuma watched Might Guy still entangled, his last bit of patience began to dissipate. I will never let your blind daughter go to school, not now, and certainly not in the future. Go out. You. Matt Key still wanted to argue. Boom. The white cane struck the floor tiles heavily, producing a deep, resounding sound like a great bell. Startled, Kazuma and Etsu simultaneously looked toward the source of the sound. The young, silver-haired blind girl calmly held her white cane. The metal rod at the bottom had penetrated 3 inches into the floor tile, and fine cracks on the square tile spread outwards from the center of the rod. Since neither of us can convince the other, I have an idea. Kazuma looked at the shattered floor tiles, then at the blind girl with her eyes covered and no expression, and swallowed back the words of refusal that were on the tip of his tongue. Things seemed to be going differently than he had imagined. A strange light flickered in her lifeless emerald eyes as she looked at Grey Glass with great interest. Any solution? Let's have a fight, whoever wins is right. Upon hearing this, Akai was eager to try. He really wanted to beat up this arrogant admissions teacher. Kazuma Etsu shook his head and chuckled. Little girl, I'm also a jonin. You don't actually think that jonin might is stronger than me, do you? I wasn't talking about Akai. Kerala. The white cane was pulled out of the paving stones, kicking up some dirt. He raised his white cane with one hand, the metal tip covered with a few bits of dirt, and pointed it at Kazuma Etsu's handsome face. As Kazuma Etsu's smile gradually faded, Hui Li's lips curled slightly. Let's go downstairs and have a one-on-one fight. Just you and me. End of this chapter. Chapter 39 Whose ninja is good at hand seals? Chapter 39 Whose ninja is good at hand seals, ninja school. Outside the teaching building, at the shooting range, a handsome young man with black hair and black eyes casually flicked his hand. The shuriken flashed with a cold light, disappeared in a flash, and then struck the bullseye with a sharp thud. Turn around. The ping-pong paddle on Uchiha Sasuke's back gleamed in the sunlight. Sasuke is so cool. Sakura Haruno and Ino Yamanaka led a large group of girls to form a cheerleading squad, making a lot of noise around Sasuke. TCH, what's so great about it? Far away. Naruto Uzumaki imitated Shikamaru Nara next to him, holding a leaf in his mouth, his back against the tree trunk, his mouth feeling unbearably sour. However, they did not notice the blue-haired, white-eyed loli who was pretending to cultivate in the distance, her eyes shyly drifting towards them. Wong. Good boy, Akamaru. Kiba Inyazuka fed the white short dog on his shoulder with dog food and patted its head. Koji Akimika puffed out his cheeks and shoveled handfuls of potato chips into his mouth. As a member of the Akimika clan who burned fat to provide chakra, he was training very hard. Kazuma-sensei got into a fight with someone. A skinny boy with snot running from afar immediately attracted everyone's attention. Did Kazuma-sensei get into a fight? Kazuma Koshi, a rare Jonin-level teacher at the Ninja Academy. Legend has it that he participated in the Third Shinobi World War but retired due to injuries. He is highly capable, holding the dual positions of admissions officer and grade head. He is aloof and taciturn, exceptionally handsome, and deeply loved by all the girls in the school. Of course, she is also the object of many boys' disgust. This scoundrel deserves to be the most punished. Who did he fight with? Where? The messenger's friend inquired out of curiosity. She's a pretty girl, about my height, and it seems, she's blind. She's right there on the training field, and lots of teachers are watching. The boy who was relaying the message gestured above his head with his hand. Blind? Snapped. The taller boy standing nearby slapped the messenger on the back of the head. You call that a fight? Isn't that Kazuma-sensei bullying a disabled girl? The messenger covered his head and whispered. But they're really fighting. Kazuma-sensei is even having a hard time winning. Okay, everyone was utterly astonished. Really? Let's go see. Naruto felt that the person's description was extremely familiar. Could it be Grey Glass? Did Harry and Kazuma-sensei get into a fight? Will she get hurt? Thinking of the friends he had finally made at Ichiraku Ramen, Naruto sat up abruptly and followed his classmates toward the center of the training field. Even Sasuke and the usually lazy Shikamaru suddenly became interested. It's rare to see Jonin fighting, especially not the serious and aloof Kazuma Etsu. He quickly joined in the fun and went to watch. As they were talking, the group of people ran off in a flash. Soon, Irika returned from the toilet, rubbing his stomach. The students were nowhere to be seen in the empty practice field, with only a few scattered kunai lying on the ground. He scratched his head in confusion. Did I go to the wrong place? Why is there no one here? Seeing Irika looking around, Shino Abarame, who was standing directly in front of Irika, pushed up her sunglasses, revealing an even more puzzled expression on her face hidden in her collar than Irika's. Am I not a human being? Go back a few minutes. Training Ground Center. No one knows who spread the news, but the teachers at the Ninja Academy have already formed a semicircle and are discussing it extensively. Hey, what's going on? I heard that this blind girl wanted to enter the Ninja Academy, but teacher Kazuma wouldn't allow it, and that's why they fought. Huh, really? I heard she's Kazuma-sensei's illegitimate daughter, and she's here to demand an explanation. Matt Kai, as a person involved, stood at the front of the crowd, looking at Hairi and Kazuma Etsu confronting each other with worry in his eyes. He had already obtained general information about Kazuma Koshi from the teachers watching nearby. Kazuma Koshi is a jonin skilled in wind release ninjutsu. He is a veteran ninja who participated in the Third Shinobi World War and has retired. He is powerful and has rich combat experience. As for Grey Glass, at only 6 years old, he is thin and blind, and probably couldn't even beat any random Ninja Academy student here. The difference in strength between the two is like heaven and earth. He didn't think Grey Glass could win, but he wouldn't stop Grey Glass's decision. No one has the right to stop someone from pursuing their dreams. As family, all he can offer is support, encouragement, and comfort after failure. If Huili persists for a while longer and lets the teachers see her tenacious will, she will definitely be able to gain admission like me. Hey, Kai, what brings you here? A teacher who had once taught Matt K recognized his distinctive hairstyle and asked in surprise. Mr. Mitsuda, I'm taking my daughter to school. Kai has a daughter already. Wow, time flies. Which class is she in? What's her name? Her name is Huili, she's the one who fought with Kazuma-sensei. Might Guy pointed to the childlike figure in the middle of the training field. Seeing the strange, hesitant expression on the teacher's face, he awkwardly rubbed the watermelon rind on his head, unsure how to explain this absurd situation. Ignoring the surrounding commotion, Kazuma Etsuko looked with amusement at the blind girl in front of him, whose height barely reached his chest. As long as you can reach me, I will give you the qualification to take the entrance exam. Despite hearing Kazuma's disdainful words, Harry remained unmoved. Under the blindfold, the veins around his eyes were already bulging. Excellent chakra level, Jonin rank, average muscle and bone strength. He had no special ninja tools on him, but there were 13 shuriken and kunao in total. There were old marks on his shin bones where he had been broken, and there were cuts in the veins of his hands. These marks were wind release. In summary, the wind release ninjutsu is unknown and requires close attention, but poses virtually no threat in other aspects. Are you ready? Faced with Hui Li's question, which seemed to contradict the heavenly gang, Kazuma Etsu remained silent, the smile fading from his eyes as he returned to his usual calm and collected state. Ninja Code Number 7. No matter what kind of opponent you face, cast aside emotions and distractions, and focus on the battle. Kazuma Ikugo lowered his body and suddenly charged towards Harry. It moves extremely fast, yet its feet make no sound when they touch the ground, like a gentle breeze. Let me tell you why blind people can't become ninjas. With his eyes fixed on the unresponsive blind girl, Kazuma Etsu's chakra-infused hand quietly reached for Hai-Ri's neck. His palm drew closer and closer to Hui Li's tender neck. I could almost feel some warmth on my fingertips. Boom, the white cane struck the training ground, and with a dull thud, an endless stream of water suddenly gushed forth from the ground. It all poured out at once. Like a wave. He pushed Kazuma Koshi, who was already close by. Such a fast water escape technique, can she see? When did you form the hand seal? Kazuma, disregarding his surprise and doubt, used his 5 fingers like hooks to tear apart the gushing water. Wow! The flesh collides with the flowing water. Water splashed everywhere. Hui Li's eyes narrowed. The splashing water droplets instantly transformed into countless water needles under Byakugan's control, floating densely in the air. Her fair, delicate hand clenched into a claw, her slender index finger pointing towards Kazuma Etsu's brow. There seemed to be some kind of invisible ripple spreading between the water needles. The tremor lasted for half a second. Following the direction of the finger, a burst of needles shot out. A deluge of water needles covered the sky above, and Kazuma Etsu's dark green eyes widened suddenly. This time he finally saw it clearly. This blind girl. She didn't even form any hand seals. End of this chapter. Chapter 41 Kick. Chapter 48 Kick. Whoosh whoosh. A volley of water needles was fired. Kazuma Koshi's figure was instantly riddled with bullets. Boom, mud and water splashed everywhere, and the bursting water droplets broke down into even finer mist. The afterimage gradually faded away. Through the mist, gray glass gazed ahead. Not far away, riding on a gentle breeze, Kazuma's tall and slender figure appeared out of nowhere, and there was no longer a trace of contempt in his eyes. The water mist in the air seemed to be blown by an invisible wind. The mist twisted like a dragon, swirling around Grey Glass, who hadn't moved an inch, and roared silently at Kazuma Etsu in the distance. That girl is a water release user without a seal. I'm not seeing things, am I, bro? Well, I'm not entirely sure either. On the training field, the teachers were discussing among themselves. I had heard that Kazuma Ishii, the most popular student in the school, had an illegitimate daughter. They ran out to see what the gossip was about. Unexpectedly, they witnessed a rare water release technique without a seal, and most importantly, the one who used it was a 6-year-old blind girl. Mitsuda looked suspiciously at Might Guy, who was standing there dumbfounded. When he was a kid, Might Guy's fingers would get all tied up with just a basic 3-body technique. And his daughter knows water release without any hand seals. Something seems off. Mitsuda's suspicious gaze was focused on Might Guy's turquoise bodysuit, then glanced at his ordinary and honest face. Looking back at Grey Glass, shrouded in mist and resembling a celestial being, I saw it again. He had a feeling that something was going on here. Akai. Might Guy, who was pondering how to break through the gray water release technique, looked over in confusion when he heard Mitsuda-sensei calling him. But he found his teacher looking at him with a complicated expression. Your daughter is quite a surprise. I've never heard you mention her before. Yes, it was quite sudden, I didn't expect it to happen so quickly. Seeing that Might Guy still looked confused, Mr. Mitsuda shook his head, sighed, and continued watching the game. Right in the center of the training field, Kazuma Katsu frowned deeply. The blind woman circling around the mist dragon made him feel genuinely troubled. Is it a no-seal ninjutsu or a bloodline limit? Cannot tell. Speed, power, and freedom of control are all top-notch. It's difficult to get close using physical skills. His wind release ninjutsu is extremely powerful, and since this girl is not an enemy on the battlefield, he cannot use high-damage ninjutsu on her under any circumstances. It seems he can only resort to high-speed, fast-paced attacks. If they force their way through this strange water escape technique and manage to get close, given the girl's delicate and frail appearance, she probably won't even last a single move. Finally, pay attention to the white cane in the girl's hand. The cane is made of metal and has an ordinary wooden structure, making it look quite unremarkable. But the girl used that white cane to smash the marble floor tiles in the office. The water release technique I just used seems to be related to the blind cane. Don't be careless. Kazuma Koshi kept analyzing the girl's information in his mind. Opposite. Huili tilted her head in confusion. White eyes do not have the ability to read minds. She didn't understand why Kazuma Koshi was staring at the broken stick in her hand. While remaining rooted to the spot and quietly awaiting Kazuma Etsu's attack, she was also analyzing Kazuma Etsu in her mind. When the opponent was dodging the water needles, they must have used some kind of unknown teleportation technique. Extremely fast. Unless she gathers all her strength and accelerates, it will be difficult for her to catch up. However, her muscle endurance is limited. She only has one chance to defeat this Jonin teacher from the Ninja Academy. Just as Huili was pondering, Kazuma suddenly formed a hand seal with one hand. Its form suddenly became illusory. A strong wind arose. From Huili's left, his figure suddenly appeared, throwing a punch at her. Wind release, wind instantaneous movement technique. Gray glasses Byakugan precisely locked onto Kazuma Ishii. The mist dragon suddenly solidified, transforming into a wall of water that blocked the two of them. Boom, the water wall was dented by the high-speed punch. Huili raised her hand to midair and shook hands with Kazuma Etsu. Wow! The water wall surged up like a giant hand, reaching out to grab Kazuma Etsu. Kazuma Koshi pushed off the ground with one foot, instantly dodging the wave of water. Meanwhile, he kept forming hand seals. He finally finished before the second wave of water controlled by Huili could hit. Call, the wind picked up again. This time, Kazuma Koshi suddenly appeared to the right of Harry. Wow, the water-style technique, which involved a change in direction, barely kept up with Kazuma Koshi's extreme speed, and the water curtain once again blocked his attack. This girl is going to lose. Kazuma-sensei is really amazing, he discovered the weakness of water release so quickly. Pity. The teachers watched Kazuma Etsu constantly appearing beside Huili and whispered among themselves, their opinion surprisingly unanimous. In the middle of the crowd, the bottom-ranked Might Guy asked in confusion, what's the weakness of this water release technique? Mr. Mitsuda glanced helplessly at the idiot beside him, becoming even more certain of his guess. The weakness of water release lies in direction. Direction. Matt Kai said he didn't understand. Sai, I've always told you to study hard, but you still don't understand, Mr. Mitsuda patiently explained. The nature of water release lies in its flow, while the offensive power of water release techniques comes from pressure. This is the principle of great force and heaviness, where quantity triumphs. Look. Mitsuda raised his hand and pointed, and Might Guy's gaze followed the direction of Mitsuda's finger. Kazuma-sensei is known for his agile and high-speed Kaze Shunshin, which keeps turning around. The girl's water-style technique also had to be reversed. However, wind-style techniques are different from water-style techniques. As a result, most of the potential energy accumulated in the water was pulled and consumed in the back and forth motion. Even if you manage to turn it around, it will be difficult and will cause the water release technique to lose its original power. This is just like a married couple. The husband goes out to do missions every day, while the wife, bored, starts looking for fun. They're not working together, so how can this family be happy? On the surface, things seem harmonious, but this conflict is bound to erupt sooner or later. While making a far-fetched analogy, Mr. Mitsuda glanced at Matt Kai's expression with his small eyes. Matt Kai felt that Mitsuda-sensei's words seemed to have a hidden meaning, but lacking a particularly bright mind, and unable to analyze the situation clearly, they could only nod as if they understood. Hey! Mitsuda sighed and continued watching the match. Call, while everyone was talking. Kazuma Koshi changed direction again, launching a surprise attack on Gray from the right rear. Wow! The water flow deformed once more, attempting to block Kazuma Koshi from attacking from behind. But this time, the invincible water release technique finally revealed a flaw. The power within the surging waves had long been exhausted in the pulling and tugging. Although a water curtain still formed behind gray glass, Kazuma Etsu keenly sensed its fragility and weakness. It's now. The long-awaited opportunity has finally arrived. An invisible stream of chakra flowed. With his muscles strengthened, Kazuma Koshi threw a full-force punch at the water curtain. Puff! The fist shattered the empty water curtain. Huili's completely exposed body was finally revealed. Kazuma Etsu's dark green eyes reflected Huili's petite figure as he unleashed a perfect uppercut towards her. 1. As Kazuma Etsu's fist drew ever closer to Harry, yet she remained completely unresponsive, the same thought flashed through the minds of the teachers watching. It was impossible to avoid this distance. Just as everyone was mentally condemning Huili to death, what happened next took everyone by surprise. Facing Kazuma Koshi's almost certain uppercut, Grey Glass Head did not return. The invisible power of the eye had already completely locked onto Kazuma Koshi, and the changes in his chakra and muscles were as clear as the lines on the palm of one's hand. Call, Grey Glass moved. He stepped back half a step with his left foot to dodge the sudden attack, while simultaneously tensing the muscles in his right leg into a fully arched bow. Twist your waist and thrust your hips. The shin bone ripped through the air like a steel whip, and the trouser leg made a piercing tearing sound as it rubbed against the air. The tan boots suddenly became a blur, and a thunderous side kick struck Kazuma Etsu's chest, visible to the naked eye. As the sole of the boot sank into his chest, Kazuma Koshi's dark green eyes were bloodshot, and his eyeballs bulged out of their sockets. Boom! The water vapor exploded. A tall figure shot out in a V-shape. After flying more than 10 meters, it crashed heavily onto the training field. The impact had not yet dissipated, and it rolled and scraped a long path on the ground. The teachers watching stared wide-eyed in disbelief, staring blankly at the blind woman in the center of the field, who was calmly retracting her right leg. The soles of the boots, scorched by friction with the air, were already blackened. Stepping onto the wet ground, the remaining water suddenly boiled, and scalding steam rose from under his boots. End of this chapter. Chapter 41 Success. Chapter 41 Success. Holy crap. That kick. Kazuma-sensei, is he dead? I think it's risky. If I were the one who took that hit, I'd probably be in big trouble. Kazuma-sensei's wind release technique is too fast. If it weren't for a fatal blow, this girl would have been killed by the high-speed wind release. The teachers watching were immediately in an uproar. They never expected that the battle, which seemed to be over, would take such a dramatic turn. The seemingly frail, blind girl skilled in water-based techniques is actually a violent loli. With just one kick, she completely incapacitated the powerful Kazuma Koshi. This physical technique. Mr. Mitsuda was dumbfounded. It looks like it really is Might Guy's offspring. What kind of woman could possibly balance and elevate Might Guy's lackluster looks and water release talent to such an extent? Is his wife the Mizukage? That doesn't make sense. This year's Mizukage is a man. Mitsuda's imagination ran wild. Might Guy was equally bewildered. With his mastery of physical skills, he couldn't detect any trace of training on Huili's body. Delicate and frail. Her skin is so tender it looks like you could squeeze water out of it. You said she's good at water-style techniques, so Might Guy isn't surprised at all. But this terrifying kick completely amazed him, and even gave him a bit of the look of a morning peacock. Well done, Grey Glass. Might Guy roared, baring his teeth, and gave Grey Glass a thumbs up. Huili quickly waved her hand, telling him to stop embarrassing himself. Unexpectedly, Might Guy thought Grey was interacting with him, and his voice became even louder. This is youth. Huili dared not look at him again. Cough cough cough. At this time, Kazuma Katsu, who had been motionless for a long time after being thrown out, coughed twice, braced himself on the ground with his arms, and shakily got up. Cough cough. I almost died. Teacher, may I enroll? Looking at Kazuma Etsu, who was struggling to get up from the ground, Huili asked in a seemingly innocent manner. Ah. Kazuma Etsushi laughed in exasperation. His green ninja vest was kicked to shreds, and there were still charred shoe prints on his chest. If he hadn't concentrated his chakra in his chest at the crucial moment to strengthen his blunt force protection, he probably would have already passed out. If you have the ability, why are you pretending to be a newbie and trying to fool people? I should have just used wind release and hacked her to pieces. Kazuma gritted his teeth. Once you enroll in school, I'll give you homework every day. Huili pursed her lips and said calmly, your physical skills are a bit lacking. When you assign homework, remember to remove questions on this topic, so as not to mislead others. Kazuma Koshi was speechless. A tightness gripped my chest, and I couldn't speak for a long time. I didn't know how many ribs and sternum were broken. I'll go with Mr. Mitsuda to pay the fees, pick up the textbooks, and be assigned to the elite class. I'll officially start school tomorrow. You go to the hospital first, I'll take care of things here, Guangtian said, patting his chest. Kazuma nodded to Mitsuda at the front of the crowd, his hands laboriously forming a hand seal, before disappearing in a gust of wind. Mighty and Gray followed Mr. Mitsuda to pay the fees. The teachers who were watching realized there was no more excitement to be had. They simply chatted excitedly as they walked away in twos and threes. They've seen and taught quite a few so-called child prodigies, leaving aside the older generation who went to war at a very young age. Minato Namikaze, who defeated a jonin of Kimagakure before even graduating. Kakashi Heitake, who graduated at 5, became a chunin at 6, a jonin at 12, and created his own ninjutsu. Itaki Uchiha, who graduated at 7, became a chunin at 10, and is now a legendary Umbu squad leader at 13. Konoha has no shortage of geniuses. Kazuma Etsu, who stood before Huili, was once a renowned genius boy. But as the saying goes, kings don't meet. Even among geniuses, there are differences. He defeated Kazuma Koshi, a jonin-level ninja, at the age of 6. Although Kazuma didn't use any powerful ninjutsu, a victory is a victory. In ninja battles, intelligence gathering, manipulation, and deception are all perfectly normal tactics. Harry is undoubtedly one of the most outstanding geniuses among all the prodigies. The name, Sunburst Grey Glass, is destined to leave a significant mark on the history of Konoha. They, as witnesses, also share in the honor. Naruto. Who won? Did you even see it? Quiet down. Quiet down. Behind the crowd. Those who arrived late couldn't even squeeze into the front row, let alone those who had skipped class. The front was full of teachers. Going in now would be like walking into a trap. Hearing the teachers' discussions coming from ahead, everyone felt an irresistible itch to join in. Shikamaru came up with a solution. They could form a human ladder to send someone up to watch and help them broadcast the show. After discussion, it was decided that Koji, the strongest among them, would serve as the base. Inyazuka's teeth are in the middle. Naruto, who is the lightest, is at the very top. What happened, Naruto? Sakura Haruno asked anxiously. She was very worried when she heard that the handsome Kazuma-sensei was at a disadvantage. I can't see anything. It's all foggy inside. Naruto held up the binoculars, squinting, but still couldn't see what was happening inside. If you can't see clearly, let me do it. Kiba Inyazuka carried Naruto impatiently. I can't hold on much longer, Koji said, grimacing at the bottom. Wong. Sasuke couldn't stand Naruto's sloppiness. He found a big tree by himself and sat on its top, peering inside. Unfortunately, it's too far away. He didn't have a telescope, so he couldn't see anything clearly. He was too embarrassed to come down to find Naruto, and he was afraid that people below would ask questions if he stayed on the tree. He simply left with a haughty "I'm bored" and turned to walk away. At this moment, groups of 2 or 3 teachers who had been watching began to walk over. Seeing the group of little kids stacked up like a human pyramid and peering in their direction, and remembering that Huili, who was the same age as them, already possessed the strength to defeat a Jonin, he found them even more displeasing. Isn't this during class time? Which class are you in? Oh no, run. The teacher's roar made all the children tremble. Naruto was so frightened that he fell off Kiba's shoulder. The cockroaches that were discovered immediately scattered like birds and beasts. Someone threw a smoke bomb on the ground, and Naruto quickly got up and ran away. Run, Hinata. Ino grabbed the dazed Hinata and quickly fled the scene of the crime. Cough. The teachers raised their hands to shield their faces from the smoke and dust. When the thick smoke cleared, there was no one in front of them anymore. Those little brats. Running pretty fast. Hey, isn't there another one? Hey kid over there with sunglasses, which class are you in? What? The one who was stopped and questioned by the teachers was Shino Abarame, who had been wandering around sadly, ignored by Irika and her classmates, but unexpectedly ran into the line of fire. Me. Shino Abarame looked around in disbelief. Yes, it's you. Where are you looking? Your name, class, and a 3,000-word self-criticism are all part of your job. You can't escape it. Abarame Shino fell into deep thought. End of this chapter. Chapter 42 means. Chapter 42 means after paying the fees and receiving their books, Gray and Might Guy were assigned to Irakaban. After seeing Harry's name and explaining the situation, Mitsuda-sensei and Might Guy cleared up their misunderstanding. Huili was very satisfied with the class assignment results for Guangtian. It started when the second Hokage decided to establish the Ninja Academy. The Konoha Ninja Academy has always carried a strong political significance. Develop civilian ninjas, break the monopoly of clan ninjas on ninjutsu, and gradually weaken the influence of clans in Konoha like boiling a frog in water. Simultaneously, only those who have studied at the Ninja Academy can obtain a Konoha ninja number and become a registered ninja in Konoha's open repertoire. The head of each clan must be a registered ninja in the village. Don't underestimate this rule. No matter how strong a ninja is, if he doesn't have a number, he's not a member of Konoha and can't obtain any resources from Konoha. However, if you have a number, the Hokage can directly assign you missions, and you will need to obey the Hokage's orders, which greatly weakens the autonomy of the ninjas of the various clans. Before, the clan's ninjas could completely separate from Konoha and become self-sufficient. Many clan ninjas are private soldiers trained by themselves and are completely independent of the Hokage's orders. Now, the heirs of all the major clans must appear at the Hokage Academy to obtain a ninja number. In this way, the family's autonomy was preserved, while the Hokage also gained indirect control over these family private soldiers to some extent. Power integration fosters new blood and cultivates bonds. Establishing leaders through early competition can prevent large-scale bloodshed in the future battle for Hokage. It can be said that the second Hokage's move to establish the Ninja Academy was a stroke of genius. His political acumen was in no way inferior to his ability to develop forbidden techniques. Just now, by entering the class taught by Irika, Harry had entered the core circle of Konoha. He defeated all his classmates and became the king of the class. She would later become the leading figure of Konoha's new generation. Her Stain from the Hidden Mist Village will be overshadowed by her exceptional talent. Once she grows to a certain level, any issues with her identity will be insignificant in the face of absolute power. Methods and plans. It was merely a temporary measure before becoming a strongman. Huili never forgot her purpose in coming to Konoha. Strength is the foundation of everything. After Hui Li and the other person left the Ninja Academy, the name, Chasing Sun Gray Glass, spread far and wide throughout the Ninja Academy. He possessed the strength of a Jonin at the age of 6, the agile and elegant water release technique without seals, and the powerful physical techniques with terrifying force. He defeated the Ninja Academy teachers before even enrolling in the school, breaking the historical record since the founding of Konoha. What's most unusual is that this person is also a blind woman. His entire body is a potential hot spot. Hiruzen Sarutobi, who was already paying special attention to Harry, and who was also the principal of the Ninja Academy, received the news immediately. Hokichi's office. Smoke billows. Hiruzen Sarutobi placed his pipe on the messy desk, holding the report that had just been submitted in his hand. The above contains all the basic information about Sunrise Gray Glass. Gray Glass every day. Identity, previously unknown, now Might Guy's adopted daughter. Appearance, a blind woman who is about 1.3 meters tall and whose face is covered with a blindfold. Abilities, proficient in water release and taijutsu. Apart from the powerful physical skills that were just revealed, everything else was information already known to Hiruzen Sarutobi. The terms taijutsu and water escape are combined. Sarutobi couldn't help but think of the Blood Mist Village, which was separated from the Land of Fire by only a sea and was shrouded in fog all year round. Are they from the Hidden Mist? Hui Li's eyes, covered by a black cloth, and his mysterious aura were almost identical to those of the Hidden Mist ninjas he had ever seen. The Hidden Mist Village boasts the largest number of bloodline limit families in the ninja world, so it's quite normal for a new water-style bloodline limit to appear without a seal. Furthermore, it's also quite common for Hidden Mist bloodline limit ninjas to flee to Konoha when being hunted down. Hiruzen Sarutobi thought about it more and it made more sense. At the same time, it felt tricky. This girl is top-notch in both ability and talent, but her greatest strength is not her physical prowess, but her extremely keen political acumen. On her first day in Konoha, she somehow managed to get Might Guy to adopt her. She registered the next day and caused a scene at the Ninja Academy without delay, completely solidifying her identity as Might Guy's adopted daughter and making a name for herself. Might Guy, who couldn't use ninjutsu and could only become a special jonin at best, was promoted to jonin level by him. All the village leaders are aware of this. Matt Key was his close confidant. Now, all the major clans that follow the Ninja Academy know that Harry is Might Guy's daughter. Standing behind him was the third Hokage. Although he had only met this girl once, from the perspective of the higher-ups, she was the genius girl of his Sarutobi faction. A commoner ninja with exceptional talent, a direct descendant of the Hokage. On the surface, Gray is practically the same template as the fourth Hokage. Once she's at the Ninja Academy, mingling with the future heirs of various clans, she, a rootless outsider, might even gain the right to compete for the Hokage position. How terrible! A chill ran down Hiruzen Sarutobi's back. A person of unknown identity and purpose, possibly from Kirigakure, has the potential to become the highest leader of Konoha in the future. The long-cherished wish of generations of the Uchiha clan, who had been unable to fulfill it, was brought to fruition by this little guy in just one day. Pat. Hiruzen Sarutobi took a puff of his pipe. Smoke billowed from his nostrils. Kai really gave him a tough problem. Hiruzen Sarutobi became increasingly certain of his suspicion that Kari came from Kirigakure. Only Kirigakure, where 4 of Might Guy's swordsmen were once killed by Might Guy's kick and the 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist still haven't been fully assembled, could possibly know Might Guy's true strength. She not only clung to his big ship, but also wanted to obtain the secret techniques of the 8 Gates formation. Good means. Hiruzen Sarutobi suddenly felt a sense of admiration for the blind girl. His 3 disciples inherited his ninjutsu skills, but none of them inherited his political acumen. There are countless powerful brutes in the ninja world, but geniuses with both exceptional talent and intellect are extremely rare. Rational, intelligent, highly skilled, adept at water-style techniques, and with that silver-gray hair. In a daze, he seemed to see a bit of the second Hokage's shadow in this girl. Mimicry rather than seeking truth. It's like an old friend has come. It's truly remarkable that 2 people with no connection could evoke the same feeling in Hiruzen Sarutobi. Sudden. A greeting came from outside the door from the gatekeeper ninja. Boom boom boom. Lord Hokage, Elder Shimura requests an audience. Hiruzen Sarutobi narrowed his eyes, composed himself, and stuffed Kari's file under the Hokage hat on the table. Go in. Click. The office door opens. An elderly man with one eye and black hair walked in through the door. The old man had his left arm in a sling across his chest and his right arm leaning on a cane. His right eye was wrapped in bandages, his left eye was narrow and long, and a hideous fork-shaped scar on his chin revealed his sinister and vicious nature. What's up? Hiruzen Sarutobi rubbed his eyes. Blindness and using crutches. These elements overlap again. What exactly is going on with this gray glass every day? Sarutobi, the Uchiha clan is about to lose their temper. Me too. Danzo went straight to the point without uttering a single unnecessary word after entering the room. End of this chapter. Chapter 43 Conditions for adding the root. The Uchiha clan has held another high-level meeting. This is the 3rd one this month. What about the content? They didn't let Itaki Uchiha participate. Itaki has already been exposed. Hiruzen Sarutobi listened to Danzo's report while puffing on his pipe. The smoke made his already wrinkled face look even older. Sarutobi. Danzo let out a low growl, as if trying to awaken the third Hokage who was caught in a dilemma. The Uchiha rebellion is a foregone conclusion, and the most urgent task is to minimize the harm caused by their rebellion. I propose that our root organization exterminate the Uchiha clan. Hold on. But, Danzo wanted to argue further, but they discovered that Hiruzen Sarutobi had raised his head at some point. His cloudy eyes were fixed on Danzo, the killing intent in them almost tangible, and he looked like an old lion. Don't act on your own. Looking at his old friend, who seemed to have returned to his youth and was known as Renxian, Danzo opened his mouth, but dared not say another word. Who? Smoke wafted through the air, accompanied by long, drawn-out breaths. The sharp light in Hiruzen Sarutobi's eyes visibly faded, revealing his undeniable signs of aging. The Uchiha clan are the elders who co-founded Konoha with the Senju clan. It is both morally and logically wrong to take action against them. Times have changed. From the moment the ninja village was established, any clan independent of it was destined for destruction. This was true for the Uzumaki clan, and it was also true for the Uchiha clan. They must have understood this principle. The Uchiha are not like the Senju. They are strong in one-on-one combat, but they cannot fight a war of attrition. Konoha has 100 times more ninjas than them. If they were given 5 pairs of Mangekyo Sharingan, how many could they kill with their chakra reserves? Defection and treason will inevitably lead to destruction. Fugaku Uchiha is an intelligent man. He will surely understand these principles. Danzo curled his lip. Research on the root system for Sharingan and Hashirama cells has entered a critical stage, and it is precisely the time when a large amount of experimental material is needed. The Uchiha clan won't rebel. If they don't rebel, where will they get their Sharingan? Danzo sneered as he looked at Hiruzen Sarutobi, who was sitting at his desk, still holding on to hope for the Uchiha clan. The weak Hiruzen Sarutobi was utterly unworthy of becoming Hokage. Once I obtain the power of the first Hokage and the Uchiha clan, I will lead Konoha to unify the ninja world and prove my teacher's choice a grave mistake. All members of Root have mastered the dark travel technique, and with the addition of the sealing team and the water release team, they can take action against Uchiha at any time. Sarutobi Hiruzen nodded. They expressed their approval of Danzo's preparations. With adequate precautions, even if the Uchiha clan rebels, it won't cripple Konoha. The Uchiha incident has come to a temporary end. Danzo seemed to suddenly remember something and looked at Hiruzen Sarutobi. By the way, how's the thing you promised me last time going? Hiruzen Sarutobi opened his eyes in confusion. What is it? Danzo was furious at Hiruzen Sarutobi's senile appearance. TSK, don't play dumb. The headquarters is short-staffed and short funding. I already told you last time. You said you'd send people over in a week. How long has it been? Seeing that Danzo had brought the topic up directly, Hiruzen Sarutobi stopped pretending. You need to be young, talented, and a master of secret techniques or bloodline ninja. These kinds of promising talents are treasures of every major clan. Where am I supposed to find one for you? If you have some promising talents, I might be willing to relax the requirements a bit. Danzang argued his case based on reason. Upon hearing this, Hiruzen Sarutobi was suddenly taken aback. Faced with Danzo's eagerness to find talent, he couldn't help but think of the mysterious Harry. Young age, but highly talented. He perfectly fits Danzo's criteria, and his identity is questionable, so handing him over to Danzo wouldn't make him feel bad at all. Let her join the Root. This would both thwart her unclear intentions about entering the Ninja Academy and prevent her exceptional talent from going to waste. Perhaps, with Danzo's training, she could truly become one of his own. If any problems arise, it's because Danzo is incompetent, and it has nothing to do with me. Let me think. There actually is someone who can meet your requirements. Hiruzen Sarutobi pretended to think. Oh, which family? Danzo was somewhat surprised. Normally, people are recruited from his family lineage 3 generations down, and he rarely sends talented individuals to his family lineage. Aside from matters concerning the Uchiha, I mainly came today to urge for research funding. I really have no hope of getting anyone to come. Surprisingly, Hiruzen Sarutobi actually had a candidate. Hey, take a look at this. Hiruzen Sarutobi pulled Carrie's file from under his hat and handed it to Danzo. Danzo quickly took the information and read it carefully. Might Guy's adopted daughter, a commoner ninja. Danzo was somewhat disappointed, but he still patiently continued reading. 6 years old, blind girl. Blind, a blind person? Snapped, Danzo slammed the information about Harry onto his desk, then stormed off in a huff. If you don't want to give it, then don't. Don't try to fool me with this shoddy stuff. Hiruzen Sarutobi, who was feeling confident that he had killed 2 birds with 1 stone, both getting rid of Danzo and dealing with Carrie, and was secretly praising his own brilliance, was stunned upon hearing these words. No, look behind you again. Hey, don't go. See, you're in a hurry again. Despite Hiruzen Sarutobi's attempts to persuade him to stay, Danzo didn't even turn his head, choosing instead to confront Might Guy for the sake of a commoner ninja who was also blind. Everyone knows how powerful the 8 Gates formation is. He's not afraid, but he's not stupid. The root doesn't accept disabled people. Danzo raised the bar for entering the root sect and then left in a huff. You'll regret this, Danzo. I am the leader of the roots. Boom, the office door slammed shut. Hiruzen Sarutobi, who was already dumbfounded, hesitated to speak. He reluctantly put away the intelligence report on the table, inwardly cursing. The old man is one-eyed himself, yet he complains that others are blind. It's really, forget it, take it or leave it. To be honest, he was a little reluctant to hand over such a talented person like Huili to Danzo to squander. At worst, I'll just be more careful in the future. Hiruzen Sarutobi made a decision in his heart. Huili, why are you unhappy? With groceries from the supermarket hanging in his left hand and a stack of books in his right, Akai frowned in confusion as he noticed Huili's uncertain expression. Fine. Huili shook her head. Her slightly heavy steps betrayed her mood. She had considered the threat posed by Danzo and Root. By leveraging Might Guy's presence, he could board the third Hokage ship and, with the two of them as his backers, avoid the threat posed by the Hyaga. No one can touch her without evidence. If you want to take a hard line, you can try the bodyguard she just hired. But then it suddenly occurred to her. Danzo doesn't seem to be the kind of person who would be afraid of the third Hokage and Might Guy. Ordinary people will consider the pros and cons and weigh the gains and losses. Danzo was mentally ill. Whether he would be wary of Matt Kai, Graylee didn't know. This kind of madman couldn't be judged by ordinary standards. What if he'd rather offend Might Guy than not invite her to join Root? The thought process of a mentally ill person cannot be deduced. She racked her brains but couldn't think of a way to avoid Danzo, so she had no choice but to leave it at that. At this point in time, the Uchiha clan's problems were far greater than hers, and Danzo probably wouldn't have time to deal with her. Huili thought to herself, her desire for power growing ever stronger. If she had Hashirama Senju's strength, she would have crushed him long ago. I really hate playing these pointless games with them. When I grow up, I'll kill them all. Tada. Look what I bought, Huili. Just as Gray was contemplating the potential threat from the Root, Might Guy ran out of the stationery store, his books gone, and carrying a bulging pink bear backpack. This is a gift for your enrollment. Congratulations on successfully entering the Ninja Academy. May you realize your dreams soon. Do not want. Huili turned her head away. She's over 30 years old, both in her past and present lives it would be better to let her join the Roots than carry a child's backpack like that. Matt K was immediately disappointed. Isn't it cute? Look. I can't see it. Stop lying. You clearly saw Kazuma-sensei's wind flicker body during the fight. No then. Give it a try. Matt Kai, carrying his backpack straps with both hands, walked around Grey Glass, constantly promoting his gifts. Huili remained silent, simply leaning on her cane and continuing forward. End of this chapter. Chapter 44 Enrollment. Chapter 44 Enrollment. The next day, early in the morning. Konoha Ninja Academy, first year elite class. Irika had not yet arrived, and the wind in the classroom was quite noisy. Hey, did you hear? Kazuma-sensei is in the hospital. I heard that his sternum was shattered and several ribs were broken. Hiss, this is terrifying. Sakura and Ino, along with many of Kazuma-sensei's female fans, sat together, chattering and gossiping. Sasuke and Hinata sat in their seats, both with equally heavy expressions. The boys, on the other hand, were not so relaxed. Kiba Inyazuka, biting the pen cap, looked at the question in his notebook and felt something was off. Shikamaru, did you write this question wrong? I copied it from Ino's notebook. Ouch. Shikamaru yawned and leaned back lazily in his chair, looking like an old man on the street despite his young age. His sense of relaxation lasted only a moment. Koji, don't put your hand that was holding potato chips on my notebook. I'm sorry, Shikamaru. Speaking of which. As Koji wrote, he glanced at Naruto, who was sitting quietly in a chair. Why isn't Naruto copying? Shikamaru shook his head and said he had finished his homework. I heard that the blind girl was assigned to our class. Really? My God, are we going to get beaten to death by her? She seems to have an absolutely volatile temper. A tigress. Several boys were also discussing it. Boom, Naruto slammed his hand on the table and stood up. The other students in the class couldn't help but be drawn to it. Naruto, what are you doing? A tall boy, startled, initially thought it was a teacher, but when he turned around and saw it was Naruto, his expression immediately turned fiery. Naruto raised his head, his eyes gleaming. You're not allowed to talk about Hylie like that. He had confirmed that the person who fought Kazuma Koshi yesterday was Hyrie, whom he had met at Ichiraku Ramen. Gentle, kind, mysterious, beautiful, definitely not some tigress. He would never allow anyone to slander his friend like that. Are you asking for it? The tall boy was surprised that Naruto dared to challenge him, so he and several other boys stood up and surrounded Naruto. A conflict was on the verge of breaking out. The students sitting by the door suddenly heard footsteps outside. The teacher is here. These words were like a starting gun. Everyone shut up and spontaneously and quickly returned to their seats, instantly silencing the noisy classroom to the point of being completely silent. Thump, thump. The sound of the white cane striking the floor tiles echoed in the corridor. As Naruto sat upright, listening to the familiar voice, he felt as if his heart was beating in rhythm with the beat. It's unclear. It's like he couldn't understand why he had to finish his boring homework last night. Soon, the classroom door opened under everyone's gaze. Irika Amino walked ahead. Behind, a silver-haired blind girl, leaning on a cane and carrying a pink bear backpack, slowly walked into the classroom. So beautiful. That's kind of cute. The quiet students began to murmur amongst themselves after seeing Huili. At first, when they heard that Harry had kicked Kazuma-sensei so hard he ended up in the hospital, they thought she was some kind of gorilla with arms big enough to carry a horse. Seeing Harry's true appearance now was a huge surprise. Huili ignored the whispers below. Just looking at the familiar little radishes below, staring at her with wide eyes, gave me a strange feeling. Irika Unno brought Carrie to the podium. Quiet. Call. The classroom quieted down. Irika nodded in satisfaction. Class, we have a new student in our class today. Let's give them a round of applause. Clap clap clap. Huili, please introduce yourself. Facing Gray, Irika cautiously revealed a kind and friendly smile. He had heard about what happened to Kazuma-sensei. Knowing he couldn't withstand that kick, he dared not act recklessly. Good teacher. Huili responded obediently. Her clear, girlish voice was like a wind chime hanging on a door, melodious and pleasant to the ear, combined with her exquisitely beautiful features that are not at all aggressive. Amino Irika was flattered, and his first impression of this violent girl quickly improved. Such a gentle girl, yet she beat Kazuma-sensei up like that yesterday. Kazuma-sensei must have done something really outrageous. Huili turned around and smiled at her classmates. Her pink lips parted slightly. My name is Chasing the Sun Gray Glass. Skilled in physical combat, loves peace, and hates anything or anyone that makes me feel at ease. I like to eat scrambled eggs with tomatoes. My dream is to defeat a powerful opponent and live a peaceful and happy life. Please continue to take care of me in the future. Clap clap clap. Irika led the applause, clapping so hard that his head began to sway back and forth. He almost burst into tears. For him, who was often driven crazy by the abnormal teenagers in his class, the girl's remarks were so normal that they seemed almost magical, except that he had never heard of her favorite food. Zhu seems to be quite easy to get along with. Koji clapped along while whispering something. Yeah, she's pretty cute. Kiba Inyazuka nodded in approval. Shikamaru remained noncommittal. He always felt there was something strange and awkward about this new classmate. That feeling was like a ferocious lion. It walks past you quietly, looking friendly, but if you sneak a peek, you'll immediately see the other party's ferocious yellow beast eyes were also secretly observing you. It's absolutely terrifying. Nara Shikamaru couldn't help but shudder, as if he had touched upon something hidden in the shadows. Alright then, Huili, you can sit here. Irika prepared to arrange a seat for Ash. Before Irika could finish speaking, Gray, leaning on her cane, stepped down from the podium and walked straight toward the blonde-haired boy at the right rear of the class. Teacher, is this okay? Smiling and nodding to the excited Naruto, Huili tapped the seat next to Naruto with her cane. Okay. Irika hesitated for a moment, but then noticed that Gray had already put her school bag on the chair, so she nodded in agreement. Gentleness is all an illusion. Kazuma-sensei, I misunderstood you. Gray ignored Irika. Her gentleness was merely a means to quickly integrate with these privileged kids, not to play the role of a well-behaved female student in front of the teacher. Naruto-kun, we'll be deskmates from now on. Please take care of me. Hello, Huili. Please guide me. Looking at Naruto's rosy complexion, Huili's smile became even gentler. Her lifeless eyes stared at the seal on his lower abdomen. Extremely fine red chakra, like blood vessels, seeped from the seal. Inside the gray glass body, deep blue chakra throbbed in his heart. His blood vessels and meridians seemed to be aroused by a hungry worm, excited and ready to burst out of his body at any moment. Gum. She couldn't help but swallow. Kuabai. If she eats just a few more bites, her chakra level will immediately reach Kage level. It's such an irresistible temptation. End of this chapter. Chapter 45 Chakra. Alright, students. We'll begin our first lesson of the day. Last semester, we mainly discussed the history of Konoha village and the will of fire of the third Hokage. Huili didn't come last semester, she studied at home. In this lesson, we'll be discussing the chakra core and the 3 types of ninjas. Everyone, take out your pens, there are many points to cover. Also, be sure to master one important misconception. The squeaking sound of chalk scraping against the blackboard brought Huili back to her senior year of high school, and her anxiety subconsciously began to creep in. But the 5 large characters, chakra core, on the blackboard pulled her back to reality. Chakra is made up of. Gray, have you eaten? Naruto's voice drowned out Irika's instruction, causing Gray to subconsciously furrow her brows. The ancient bamboo harvesting clan still retains the traditional teaching philosophy from the Warring States period, refining chakra, practicing the bamboo cutter dance, and killing in actual combat. Although her combat skills improved rapidly under this training, her knowledge of ninjas was still lacking, especially this somewhat realistic ninja world. Many things that were ambiguous or not mentioned in previous comics are now essential knowledge that everyone must master. After receiving her textbooks last night, she did a quick preview. She discovered that the first-grade textbook contained very basic knowledge, and avoided discussing many things she wanted to know. Kai is a bottom-of-the-class student again. The only place she might have access to some theoretical knowledge now is in this classroom. Naruto, pay attention in class. Huili patiently offered her advice. Okay. Naruto readily agreed. After a while, he felt bored again and kept spinning the ballpoint pen in his hand. The pen kept falling out of the pen, making a clicking sound. Huili sighed softly. There are gains and losses. Trying to steal someone else's Ninetales chakra really comes at a price. Oh well, consider it advance payment for future buffet meals. Naruto-kun. Okay. Naruto looked up in surprise. Can you do me a favor? Huili tilted her head and whispered to Naruto. The morning sunlight streamed through the window, casting a golden glow on her fair profile. Her high, delicate nose cast a reflection, making her appear even more beautiful. No problem. Naruto didn't hear what his mysterious classmate said at all. He just stared blankly at the pink lips opening and closing, and then vaguely agreed. Squeak. The chalk continued to write. By this time, Irika had already written a quarter of the words on the huge blackboard. As we all know, chakra is composed of mental energy and physical energy, and the key to synthesizing these two is the chakra core, inside the heart. Some people also call it the chakra seed. Irika paused for a moment, giving everyone time to process the information, before continuing. The chakra core grows by constantly absorbing spiritual and physical energy during the chakra refining process. At the same time, it feeds back into the chakra used by ninjas. It is like a seed that sprouts, grows, and matures under our care. Everyone's soul and body are different, so their spiritual energy and physical energy are different, resulting in different chakra cores and ultimately subtle differences in chakra. All the power of a ninja is hidden within their chakra core. Gray listened quietly to Irika's endless narration. The description of the chakra core she heard gave her a sense of déjà vu. Wasn't this a miniature divine tree? The Itsutsuki clan planted the divine tree in the ninja world, which grew chakra fruits by absorbing natural energy. The chakra cores within ninjas devour the spiritual and physical energy of the human body, thus replenishing their chakra. The process is remarkably similar to that of the sacred tree. The existence of the chakra core also explains why Orochimaru was unable to perform gene cloning and mass-produce bloodline ninjas in the original work. The secret of bloodline ninjas lies in their unusual chakra core. The chakra core has absolutely nothing to do with genes. The chakra core that a child inherits is the fruit that condenses after the parent's cores mature, not a copy of the genetic blueprint. Each person can only condense a limited number of fruits, so bloodline ninjas cannot be produced on a large scale. At the same time, ninjas can control whether the fruit spreads. If they only obtain a small amount of genetic material, it will not have any effect. Rolling your eyes will induce a reaction. Huili looked at the chakra core in her heart. The illusory chakra core glowed with a deep blue aura. Her chakra wasn't this color before. Since absorbing a small piece of the three tails chakra, the chakra in her body, including the chakra core, has mutated. The chakra core can be altered by external chakra, and the altered chakra core will give birth to entirely new chakra. Irika finished writing the last line on the blackboard. The chalk was thrown on the table. Take a deep breath. Come back. Most of the students in the classroom were already slumped over. Irika twitched his lips. This kind of purely theoretical stuff is dry and boring. Even adults would find it tedious, let alone these active children. Then she looked at the transfer student, Huili. Blindfolded, he sat blankly on the stool, not knowing whether he understood or was asleep. To protect her eyesight, he slowed down his speech considerably so that she could hear him clearly. Irika's gaze swept across the room, landing on Naruto sitting next to Harry. The unexpected situation made his eyes widen in surprise. Naruto Uzumaki, who is usually the most uneducated, was actually listening attentively and taking notes today. What's the situation, la? Naruto wrote in a clean notebook, and the crooked and messy characters leaped off the page. Huili is blind. He promised Huili that he would help her record the teacher's lessons so she could review them later. Naruto Uzumaki, a man of his word. No matter how hard or tiring it is, you must keep your promise. Hey, Naruto's features scrunched up as he copied the notes, his brain being bombarded with complex knowledge. I'm still so bored. Irika suppressed his surprise and patted the blackboard to wake the sleeping children. Wake up, we're about to get to the important part of the exam. The factors that influence chakra levels, and the different types of ninjas affected by them. These are topics not covered in the textbook, so everyone must memorize them. They will definitely be on the final exam. Huili regained her senses and stopped focusing on observing the chakra core. Irika's expression was slightly grave. After gathering his thoughts, he slowly said, remember, chakra quantity is only related to vitality. Strong vitality means abundant energy produced by the body and soul, rapid growth of the chakra core, and thus, more chakra generated. In other words, a person's chakra level is determined from the moment of birth. It can't be changed. End of this chapter. Chapter 46 The Limits of a Ninja. Chapter 46 The Limits of a Ninja. There are limits to being a ninja. This is a truth that Huili understood long ago. But as Irika continued to explain, her understanding of the limits of ninjas deepened. Insufficient chakra is a problem that every ninja will encounter. Ninjas train in taijutsu, genjutsu, and ninjutsu, all based on the use of chakra, but they lack the most fundamental element. That is, how does chakra increase? Irika gave his final explanation of the chakra issue. Chakra is almost impossible to increase artificially. Chakra originates from the energy absorbed by the chakra nucleus and then fed back to it. The human body's physical and mental energy essentially originates from the ninja's vitality. Everyone is born with their own vitality, which cannot be changed. But, if things are really as Irika described, how can it be that the more you eat, the stronger your body becomes and the more abundant your chakra becomes? The doubts in Hui Li's mind had just begun to surface. Some people have already raised questions. Teacher, why is it that the stronger our bodies are, the more chakra we have? Sakura Haruno, the best student, was the first to raise her hand and ask a question. Irika nodded in satisfaction and waved for Sakura Haruno to sit down. Sakura's question is excellent, and it's also a core topic I'm going to discuss next. It originated from the third Hokage, who was revered as the professor of ninjutsu, and it debunked one of the biggest misconceptions in the history of the ninja world over the past 1,000 years. It's not that the stronger your physical condition, the more chakra you generate. Rather, only when you have more chakra and a stronger life force can your body have the opportunity to become stronger. Many people say, then we can eat more food and have more chakra, right? This is totally wrong. Food reaches the stomach and intestines for digestion and absorption. Only after absorption and conversion into energy can it be properly absorbed and converted into energy. Only with strong vitality and vigorous bodily functions can you absorb and convert energy, otherwise, you'll just overeat and die. Only with more chakra can one have the chance to become stronger. Hui Li's spirits lifted. Irika's teachings once again disrupted her understanding. Wouldn't that mean everyone's potential for growth is locked from the very beginning? Without a large amount of life force, all cultivation will eventually be constrained by the amount of chakra, and will eventually decline when the life force is exhausted. Think of this. Hui Li suddenly turned her head to look at Naruto beside her. He was slumped over the table, impatiently copying the blackboard notes into his notebook. Within his body, the chakra light, as brilliant as the sun, almost solidified into liquid. The terrifying vitality of the Uzumaki clan, the Yang Nine Tails with its seemingly limitless chakra, and the Yang attribute Ajura chakra representing life. It turns out that some people are positioned above everyone else from the very beginning. So what's wrong with me? With her eyes closed, Hui Li felt the surging chakra within her body. After absorbing the flesh of the three tails, the chakra in her body doubled. Could it be that the tailed beast chakra has enhanced my vitality? Hui Li felt that things were not that simple. The lack of crucial information made it difficult for her to make a judgment, and she could only try to find out more later. Choosing the Konoha Ninja Academy was definitely the right decision. Irika, that guy, actually has some skills. As expected, none of the characters who had a significant role in the original work were mediocre. Looking at Irika speaking eloquently on the podium, Hui Li's eyes no longer held any contempt. Due to the limited amount of chakra, ninjas divide themselves into three types in order to make the most of their chakra: ninjutsu type, taijutsu type, and genjutsu type. Taijutsu type ninjas train their bodies and use chakra as an energy source to fuel their growth. They have the least amount of chakra in their bodies, but because taijutsu itself consumes very little energy, they are better at prolonged combat. Ninjutsu type ninjas avoid overtraining, storing more energy in their bodies to unleash ninjutsu, and excel at short bursts of power and decisive attacks. Illusionist ninjas are the rarest type. Using chakra as an energy source to aid in the growth of spiritual power, it is both more mysterious and more dangerous. The three types of ninjas are essentially compromises made due to insufficient chakra reserves for full development. Ding ding ding. Just as Irika finished his lesson, the school bell rang outside. Before he could even utter the words, "Get out of class dismissed," the students, who had long been unable to endure his long-winded speech, jumped up from their seats. Irika shook his head helplessly and walked out of the classroom. He was like that back then. I find these things boring and tedious. Only when they reach their own limits and can no longer go any further will they understand how important this lesson truly is. Irika left. The atmosphere in the classroom became even more boisterous. The students were extremely curious about the mysterious and beautiful transfer student, Hui Li. Hui Li was still processing the information she had just received. Intimidated by his superior martial prowess and impressive record, the students, though curious, dared not approach him to speak. Finally, it seems that Naruto, who knew Hui beforehand, became the focus of everyone's attention. Naruto was still copying notes at this time. With a pencil, scribbles and draws appear on the paper, one after another, scribbles leaping out from the paper. "What are you writing? Let me see." The tall boy who had clashed with Naruto that morning yanked the notebook out from under Naruto's elbow. The pen tip immediately left a huge scratch on the paper. "What are you doing?" Naruto immediately panicked. He copied notes for a class and they were stolen, and what's worse, the notebook was gray glass. If I lose Hui Li's notebook because of me, she'll definitely hate me. Having finally met a new friend who didn't dislike him, Naruto didn't want that to happen no matter what. "Give me back." Naruto stood up and tried to snatch it. "No, No, Naruto, you're so stingy. The tall boy raised his hand, but Naruto, standing on tiptoe, couldn't reach the notebook. In a moment of desperation, Naruto punched the boy in the stomach. Ugh! The tall boy screamed, and his laptop fell to the ground. Naruto quickly picked up the notebook. He dared to hit me, beat him up. Call. Two other guys who were close to the tall guy suddenly rushed up. The two of them worked together to grab Naruto and throw him to the ground. Then the three of them surrounded Naruto and started punching and kicking him. You dare hit me, monster! The sounds of flesh colliding echoed one after another. At first, Naruto put up a fight, but when he realized it was ineffective, he used one hand to protect Harry's notebook and the other hand to protect his face as the three of them kicked and punched him. Hinata, who was secretly watching this side, bit her lip until it turned white. The group's violent actions made her tremble with fear, especially with Naruto by her side. Koji and Kiba couldn't stand it anymore. Just as he was about to step forward, however, Shikamaru stopped them with his hand and gave them a wink, preventing Ino and Sakura from making a move. Shikamaru glanced at Harry, who was sitting quietly next to Naruto. He sat right behind Naruto. The conflict originated with her, and the notebook that Naruto was desperately protecting was also hers. They should know each other and have a good relationship. But why didn't she take action? Unable to figure out what Harry was up to, Shikamaru could only stop his companions to see what this person was trying to do. End of this chapter. Chapter 47 Monster. Chapter 47 Monster. The three fought for a long time. We played until the break ended, and the next practical lesson was about to begin. Even Sasuke Uchiha, who had been fighting for a long time without seeing any action from Hylie, couldn't stand it anymore and left the classroom. After beating up the others, they all left one by one. They fought until the three of them were exhausted. He snatched the notebook that Naruto was protecting from his arms, tore it to pieces, and threw it on the ground before he was satisfied. Waste. After a cold, sarcastic remark, the group glanced at Hylie, who hadn't moved an inch, and then ran out of the classroom laughing. Golden beams of light illuminated the classroom. Scattered notes fluttered in the air. Dust stirred up in the air danced in the sunlight. Only Hylie and Naruto, who was lying on the ground with his hands covering his eyes and covered in dirt, remained in the classroom. A faint sob could be heard. Does it hurt? Huilie's cold voice eased Naruto's sobs, but then his body began to tremble even more violently. Hylie walked to Naruto's side. Squat down. At this moment, Naruto's orange clothes were covered in dust and shoe prints. His golden hair hung limply, and the arm covering his eyes revealed bare skin that was covered in bruises. Gray glass, who gave you your notebook? That's not important. Water flowed from Gray Glass's sleeve, wrapping around Naruto's swollen wound. The cold water seemed to neutralize the burning wound, and as the chakra surged, a warm sensation came from Naruto's wound. A pale hand gently placed Naruto's hand aside, revealing his swollen face covered in tears. Water streamed down her face, mingling with her tears. Naruto's body was stiff. Her wet, sky-blue eyes gazed up at the beautiful girl above her. He had never been treated so gently by any girl before. I'll buy you a new one tomorrow to make up for it. I told you, that's not important. Hylie looked down at Naruto, who was covered in wounds. Do you know why you're being bullied? Naruto trembled, his eyes darting away. They said I'm a monster. Do not. Hylie shook her head. The truth is quite the opposite, you are not a monster. But they all say. I was once called a monster too. Hylie interrupted Naruto's words, gazing up at the sky as if reminiscing. After I killed them all, no one called me a monster anymore. Now, everyone calls me a genius. You have the title of monster, but not the power of a monster. That's the root of why you're being bullied. Naruto's heart trembled. Putting the murder aside, he suddenly realized that what Hylie said made a lot of sense. If he had the power of Hylie, would no one bully him anymore? But the people of Konoha all say I'm a monster. Looking at Naruto, who stared blankly with eyes wide open as if he had just opened the door to a new world, Hylie finally smiled. Become stronger than all of them. I can't do it. Naruto lowered his head. Naruto, who was not yet fully developed, was far from the confidence and optimism of the original work. A fair, jade-like hand suddenly appeared in front of Naruto. Naruto subconsciously looked up, and the scene before him was one he would never forget. The girl half-squatted on the ground and stretched out her palm towards him. Her pink lips smiled, and the black blindfold could not hide her gentleness. The golden sunlight added a golden edge to the girl's silver-gray hair, making her dazzling and holy. I'll help you. Three simple yet unfamiliar words brought Naruto to the point where he could no longer hold back his tears. Tears filled her eyes. The world was shrouded in tears, but one figure radiated golden light, reaching out his hand and quietly waiting for him. His bleak life finally saw a glimmer of light at this moment. Gray Glass, why didn't you help me just now? Boys your age are quite concerned about their image. You probably wouldn't like the nickname, coward who hides behind a woman. Okay, let's hurry, we're going to be late. Naruto looked at Harry, who was using water release to clean his wounds, and his face burned. If one can be protected by Gray Glass, then saving face might not be so important. The first real battle, Uchiha Sasuke vs Hyuga Hinata. On the training ground, holding the manual, Irika Amino announced the official start of the next match. He already knew about Naruto and Harry's situation. Ninja Academy is not a place for playing house, fighting is the norm here. As long as things don't get too out of hand, the students are responsible for resolving their own issues. Whether or not Huili takes practical classes is actually irrelevant. Even if all the students in the elite class, including his teacher, joined forces, they probably wouldn't be a match for her. Let's take Naruto's words as a preview of the actual battle. Form the seal of opposition. The two formed hand seals and stared at each other. With his hands in his pockets, Sasuke, with his black hair and black eyes, exuded confidence. Hinata, with her blue hair and white eyes, pretended to be full of confidence as she assumed the gentle fist stance. Please advise. Two boom, Sasuke pushed off the ground with one foot, propelling his body forward. He threw a punch aimed at Hinata's face. Hinata narrowed her eyes in fear, tilted her head to dodge the jab, and then struck the abdomen with a backhand bagua palm, which was blocked by Sasuke's knee. The two exchanged blows, the sounds of their bodies colliding crackling loudly. Gray Glass, how do you think I should become stronger? Just as Irika was scoring Sasuke and Naruto, Harry and Naruto walked out of the school building and headed straight for the training ground. Everyone's attention was immediately drawn to it. Huili walked calmly ahead. Naruto followed behind Harry, chatting and laughing. The dirty shoe prints on his orange-yellow clothes had been washed away, and apart from a slight bruise around his eyes, his injuries had almost disappeared. Hinata seemed to be distracted by the arrival of Hai and Ri, and was knocked to the ground by Sasuke's powerful blow to the abdomen. Her little chubby face immediately scrunched up in pain. Hinata, I've told you so many times, don't get distracted during battle. Sasuke fought very well, 10 points. Irika scribbled and drew in his notebook. Sasuke is so strong. Looking at Sasuke, who stood proudly in the center of the playground, Sakura and Ino cupped their faces in their hands and looked at him, their emerald green eyes almost shooting out hearts. Hinata endured the pain and got up from the ground. Seeing Huili approach, he quickly lowered his head, not daring to look at her. Dong dong dong. Irika-sensei. Huili led Naruto to the training ground. Thinking that Huili and the others were going to report the bullying, the three girls immediately shrank back in fear. Naruto fell down, and I was late taking him to the infirmary. I tripped and fell, and the fall hit my eye socket. Then they had a newly arrived blind man take Naruto to the infirmary, and what's even more terrifying is, the Ninja Academy didn't even have a health clinic. The perfunctory lie made Irika grin, his good impression of Gray from that morning completely vanished. Alright, it's not your turn yet, go wait over there. Wait a moment. A clear, youthful voice interrupted loudly. Sasuke looked at the silver-haired girl with her eyes covered, a strong fighting spirit surging across his handsome face. Ever since he heard that this girl had defeated the Jonin Kazuma Koshi, he had been eager to fight her. I went home yesterday. The father seemed to have heard about the girl's strength and highly recognized it, even encouraging him to strive to surpass Huili. This made him very resentful. If I can defeat her, my father will surely approve of me. Teacher, I want to have a real spar with Huili. Ignoring Hinata's surprised eyes, Urjusa spoke with a firm gaze. End of this chapter. Chapter 48 Practical Lesson. Konoha Training Ground. The weather is sunny. Urjusa thought he was particularly capable, but Irika was numb. He knew about Huili's strength. The information had already spread in the teacher's office. Even if Sasuke were to unleash his full power and activate his Sharingan, it wouldn't make a difference, let alone since he hasn't awakened it yet. Blindness counters Sharingan pupil techniques. Water release without seals counters fire release. Even if you can see it clearly, you can't dodge it with its superfast taijutsu. Even a Jonin like Kazuma-sensei, who is a master of the wind flicker technique, was kicked into the hospital before he could dodge it. This strong restraint. Even if your father, the fierce-eyed Fugaku Uchiha, came, he would have a hard time defeating you, let alone Sasuke, who is not even very proficient in the three-body technique right now. I heard that the situation in the Uchiha clan and the village is a bit tense. If the second son of the Uchiha clan dies in his combat lesson, I don't know if the third Hokage can protect him. To protect Sasuke's pride, Irika carefully chose his words. I think it is good. Huili readily agreed. Holding a pen and paper, Irika stood blankly on the left side of the training field. Unable to beat his student, he, as a teacher, lacked the confidence to even say no. Standing in the center of the training field, Huili and Sasuke faced each other from a distance. The mission to subdue Naruto has been basically completed. Huili didn't particularly value Sasuke. Sasuke is easy to fool, but there's really nothing to gain from him. He has a pair of eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, and later he might get a Rinnegan, but that's about it. She doesn't even know where to put it after taking it off. She actually quite likes those white eyes. Although it looks unremarkable. However, both the body domination, formed by combining with the Shikatsumayaku, corpse bone pulse, and the water release without seals formed by controlling the raging-tailed beast chakra rely on the Byakugan for support. Beat Sasuke into submission, let him know who the king of the class is, and from now on he'll obediently follow her to fight Kagaya. Gray Glass has a clear purpose. At this time, seeing that Hui Li and Sasuke were about to fight. The students immediately rubbed their hands together excitedly. Finally, we have the chance to see that mysterious gray glass make a move. Although I had heard about Kazuma-sensei's miserable situation from other teachers, but what you hear is false, and what you see is true. Uchiha Sasuke, who has always been the top student in practical classes, will face off against Ash Blossom, who had already hospitalized her teacher upon entering the school. This battle is sure to be extraordinary. Of course, the above ideas mainly came from Sakura, a representative of Sasuke's female fans. The boys' group had completely different opinions. Shikamaru, do you think Sasuke will win? Kiba Inyazuka asked, tilting his head. Akamaru, perched on Kiba's head, excitedly kicked his legs. Nara Shikamaru rolled his eyes at his companion. If he doesn't get beaten in two, that's a success. The news of Harry's impressive achievements reached his father, Nara Shikaku, last night. His father admonished him, don't antagonize them, try to build a closer relationship. Finally, remember, under no circumstances should you resort to violence. As a smart person, Shikamaru listens to advice. Even though he couldn't stand watching Naruto being bullied, he didn't dare to intervene because Hui Li didn't move, for fear of disturbing her good time. Naruto was also mingling with everyone, looking expectantly towards the center of the arena. He cupped his hands together in front of his mouth and said, Gray Glass, do your best. Sakura, seeing Naruto's support, was immediately displeased and led the Sasuke fan club in chanting, Sasuke, you're the best. With their superior numbers, they directly suppressed Naruto's cries. Quiet. Come on Sasuke. Iruka scratched his head in frustration, his voice drowned out by the shouts of Sasuke's fans. Looking at Sasuke, who was confidently meeting Hui Li's gaze, Iruka became extremely alert, staring intently at the two of them. I am Uchiha Sasuke, please guide me. Out of respect for the strong, Sasuke did not act as casually as he did when he fought Hinata. Instead, he formed hand seals and spoke with great seriousness. Hui Li didn't speak, as if he didn't exist. Awkwardly lowering his hand, Sasuke's eyes immediately flashed with anger. How arrogant. Begin. Iruka commanded. Sasuke could no longer restrain himself, and with a rapid movement of his legs, he charged forward. High speed. Then it flew back at an even faster speed. Boom, its small body crashed onto the playground ground, traveling a long distance and kicking up a cloud of dust. Hui Li lowered her left leg. The girls' shrill cheers came to an abrupt halt. Go, Haley. Defeat that arrogant Sasuke. Naruto's voice echoed throughout the arena. As the shortest person in the class, he didn't see what was happening ahead at all and was still cheering for Hui Li. Stop shouting, Naruto, it's over. Koji, looking fearfully at Ino's angry glares, quickly tugged at Naruto's clothes. What? Naruto paused for a moment, then squeezed through the crowd. Sure enough, Sasuke was still lying on the ground in the center of the training field, and Hui Li was standing leisurely in the same spot, his clothes not even dirty. This, so fast. Naruto's words expressed what everyone was thinking. As they were in the front row, they didn't see what Hui Li did, only two scenes where Sasuke rushed forward and was instantly sent flying back. Teacher, you can start grading now. In the center of the arena, Gray looked at Iruka and spoke calmly. Iruka suddenly realized what was happening. The winner. I haven't lost yet. Sasuke, his eyes red, got up from the ground, his dust-covered back trembling. But I've lost interest in playing with you any longer. Hui Li shook her head. Even with her eyes covered, Sasuke could still feel the contempt in her eyes. I thought you, as an Uchiha, should be stronger. You're awful. Sasuke roared and charged at Haley once more. He punched Hui Li hard in the face with his right fist. Boom, fists and palms meet. Hui Li remained expressionless, her hand held horizontally to the side of her face, tightly gripping Sasuke's fist. Ugh. Ah. Sasuke immediately let out a painful scream, feeling as if the bones in his right hand were about to be crushed. Weak and powerless. As he spoke, he used his cane to block Sasuke's concealed sweeping leg, then raised his leg and kicked, his toe striking Sasuke's liver. Vomit. Sasuke immediately bent over and gagged, his face turning red like a boiled lobster. No, you mustn't insult the Uchiha. Boom, amidst the silent stares of his classmates, Sasuke was kicked away once again. Isn't it you, weakling, who have been insulting the Uchiha clan all along? Blind pride, weak arrogance. If all the Uchiha clan members were like you, it would be truly tragic. Hui Li's sarcasm was merciless. Looking at Sasuke lying on the ground, head hanging in pain, she felt no sympathy whatsoever. Uchiha Sasuke is an ungrateful wretch who can't be tamed. In the original work, Karen, who was a simp, was hurt badly by Sasuke. Dealing with this kind of person, simply being nice to them won't work. He uses both the stick and the carrot, slowly disciplining the student. Obedience brings reward, disobedience brings punishment. As long as he maintains a position of power superior to the student will never dare to betray him. Just as Hui Li was making his assessment, Sasuke, who was lying on the ground, suddenly raised his head. His handsome features contorted in pain, and intense flames erupted from his mouth. Sasuke felt a surge of anger. Ignoring the rule that ninjutsu cannot be used in combat lessons, he was determined to make the arrogant Ash Blossom pay a heavy price. He mobilized all the chakra in his body and gathered it in his throat. Fire release, Great Fireball Technique. Call, a small fireball, the size of a rubber ball, spewed out of its mouth and flew rapidly toward Grey Glass, who stood quietly in place, with a trail of flame. There is no trace of the legendary water release technique. Didn't you realize it? Sasuke licked his dry lips, his expression revealing an undisguised sense of triumph over his successful revenge. End of this chapter. Chapter 49 The Queen of the Elite Class. Chapter 49 The Queen of the Elite Class. The sudden use of fire magic caused panic among the students watching. Although the practical course is described in terms of practical application, but it wasn't a real battlefield. Ninja tools and ninjutsu are explicitly prohibited for first-year students to use. Sasuke's actions were undoubtedly a violation of the rules. As the fireball seemed about to hit Huili, some of the more sentimental girls couldn't bear it and closed their eyes. Grey Glass, get out of the way. Naruto clenched his fist and roared, his face full of anxiety, just like Ash Ketchum trying to wake Pikachu during the national tournament. Even Iruka and Shikamaru, who had great confidence in Harry, couldn't help but frown. At this moment, the fireball was less than a fist's distance from Huili's body, and it was too late to dodge or defend. They neither dodge nor use water escape techniques. Even a Jonin could die if struck by a powerful fire release ninjutsu. What on earth does she want to do, soon? The doubts in everyone's hearts were then answered. Huili calmly extended her left hand. Gum. Under the control of his eye power, the deep blue chakra bubbled like boiling water, seeping out from the pores of his hands and turning into a faint dark red. Soon, the red power then completely covered the fair, delicate hands. Civ, the fireball finally arrived at that moment. I gazed at the dazzling flames before me. His left hand, covered in a red energy cloak, precisely grasped the fireball jutsu, much to Sasuke's astonishment. Bah! The fireball trembled violently in the center of his palm, spewing out scalding sparks. The powerful impact of the fire-style technique was severely suppressed by an even more terrifying monstrous strength, and it could not break through the seal of the Grey Glass hand no matter what. At last, the chakra that sustained the fire release technique was completely burned out. A snort, the fireball turned into a wisp of flame, which was unwillingly extinguished in Huili's palm. The pale red energy coat faded, revealing the still fair white palm beneath. The entire room fell silent. The training ground was completely silent. Everything before our eyes has exceeded everyone's comprehension. The students watching, including Iruka, could only open their mouths wide, unable to say a word. With the firelight obscuring the view and the tailed beast's cloak being extremely thin, it was difficult to see with the naked eye. In their understanding, Huili did not use any ninjutsu and caught the Uchiha clan's fire jutsu with his bare hands. Such an astonishing thing is something that no one would believe unless they saw it with their own eyes. Your fire jutsu isn't even good enough to light a candle. Dong dong dong. Leaning on her white cane, Huili walked past Sasuke, who was lying on the ground in a daze, and returned to her class's line to sit down. The surrounding students dared not stop them. Those who were afraid made way for them. A central area was formed with Grey Glass as the center, and no one dared to disturb this fierce warrior who could crush fire-style attacks with his bare hands. The scene remained quiet for a long time. Iruka, with his superior mental fortitude, was the first to recover. Sunburst Grey, 10 tenths, Sasuke. Keep it up. Iruka's words of comfort seemed to be the last straw that broke Sasuke's back. After suffering a series of heavy blows and squeezing out all his chakra to use fire release, Sasuke could no longer hold on and fainted. You three, take Sasuke to the infirmary. Iruka pointed to the three boys who had just bullied Naruto. When you come back, fight Akimi Kikoji, Nara Shikamaru, and Inyazuka Kiba in that order. The three of them exclaimed in surprise. Sasuke was the strongest in the elite class's practical training session, while the second, third, and fourth place winners were the three that Iruka had just selected. What do you mean, If you're not back in 5 minutes, you're skipping class. Hurry up. Yes. The three of them sighed and carried Sasuke, running towards the infirmary in the distance. Next match. Sakura Haruno vs Ino Yamanaka. The training ground became lively again, but after the amazing scene just now, the current scuffles were no longer interesting. The one who started it all is sitting cross-legged in meditation. Huili clenched her fists. My hand hurts a little, even though I managed to take a direct hit from a great fireball while using the tailed beast cloak. However, the amount of Three Tails chakra she absorbed was still too small. A genuine tailed beast cloak possesses formidable defensive capabilities against both physical and ninjutsu attacks. Her counterfeit cloak, formed by absorbing a small amount of tailed beast chakra, is far inferior. This is just Sasuke's kindergarten version of the great fireball jutsu. If it were Itaki Uchiha's, she would probably be fully cooked by now. But the result is good. As Huili observed the fearful expressions on everyone's faces, she realized that her status in the class was at least no less than that of Amino Iruka, and perhaps even higher. This is almost identical to her initial idea. He established his authority by taking advantage of the most unpopular Uchiha clan in the village, and then showed his affability to gather the heirs of the secret technique clans around him. She doesn't care about the Hokage position. She was determined to acquire the knowledge of Yin and Yang escape techniques from all the major families. That will be the foundation for her to build her own ninjutsu and taijutsu, and to step into the 6 paths. Gray Glass, how did you do that just now? The others were afraid of Hui Li and dared not speak, but the oblivious Naruto was not afraid at all. He ran over to Hui Li and sat down to ask her questions. You can do it too in the future. Hui Li glanced longingly at the 9 tails inside Naruto, quietly waiting for the chakra within her body to be synthesized. Using the tailed beast cloak consumes a lot of energy. This unique skill of Jinchuriki involves the reckless use of chakra. Hui Li's Shikatsumayaku and Byakugan bloodline limits are not known for their chakra reserves. If she hadn't absorbed the 3 tails chakra, she would probably have already run out of chakra. Really? Thank you. Naruto thought that Harry meant to teach him this ability, and he smiled happily. He was already fantasizing about how he would single-handedly defeat Sasuke's fire release technique on the training field. Harry suddenly turned to look at Kiba Inyazuka, who was observing from the side. Hey buddy over there, what's your name? Kiba Inyazuka, flattered that the terrifyingly powerful Carrie had suddenly struck up a conversation with him, pointed to himself and asked, me. The little dog on your head is quite cute. He. My name is Kiba Inyazuka, and his name is Akamaru. We are a pair of partners. Wong. Kiba Inyazuka scratched the back of his head, baring his teeth. In the hearts of dog owners, anyone who likes their dog is not a bad person. Where are the 2 people next to you? Shikamaru and Akimikikoji were called upon and stepped forward to exchange names with Harry. I am Ash Glitter, can you do me a favor? Shikamaru and the others exchanged glances. What's the deal? In the upcoming hand-to-hand combat, please take good care of your opponents. Consider it a favor I owe you. If you ever need anything in the future, feel free to come to me. Naruto behind him was so moved he almost cried. Shikamaru and his 2 companions were overjoyed. They had all witnessed Hui Li's strength. No one in school can rival her. If they take this opportunity to become friends with her, wouldn't they be able to do whatever they want in school? What's more, they already disliked those 3 people. Beating them up would not only vent my anger but also earn me Hui Li's friendship. It's a double blessing. It's a word. Thank you for your hard work, you 3. Please make sure they get to the infirmary. No problem, we 3 brothers have got it covered. Just you wait and see. Looking at the 3 people in front of her who were patting their chests and making repeated promises, and Naruto with starry eyes behind her, Hui Li pursed her lips and her smile became even more friendly and gentle. Deep friendships cannot be separated from long-term exchanges of benefits. Let them do some small favors first to give them a taste of what's good for them. Only then will there be a foundation of trust when undertaking big things in the future. Simultaneously, by striking the Uchiha in an exaggerated manner, he not only demonstrated his strength but also expressed his political stance. Show friendliness to the heirs of various secret families, signaling that they can interact with each other. The fighting prowess that Hui Li has displayed makes it clear to anyone with eyes that she has a very high chance of becoming one of the future Hokage candidates, so those who want to invest in a potential stock will naturally flock to her. The children at school are the best mouthpieces. The more exaggerated the news they spread, the more substantial the investment they attracted. In the future, if she wants something, she only needs to send out a signal, and there will be plenty of investors who want to make progress willing to support her. The strong stay strong. The snowball is about to start rolling. End of this chapter. Chapter 50 Charming. Chapter 50 Charming. Ding 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 ding. The school bell rang in the schoolyard. Facing the setting sun, a few scattered little radishes, carrying their school bags, ran out of the school and headed for their parents' arms. Matt Kai tugged at his sweat-soaked, dark green bodysuit, ignoring the strange looks from the students and parents around him, and stood in front of the school gate looking around. Training, cooking, picking up her daughter from school. The unprecedented life of a stay-at-home dad left him feeling somewhat lost, but what he found even harder to accept were the words of his friend Kakashi. This morning, Kakashi told him everything about Harry. Gray glass may have originated from the fog shadows, but its purpose is unknown. She had been deliberately waiting for him by the roadside. Every encounter was planned, and she was likely plotting to obtain the secret techniques of the 8 Gates formation, etc. Compared to the enigmatic and unpredictable Gray glass, whom he had only known for less than 2 days, Matt Kai naturally chose to trust his childhood friend. Fairy tales are all lies. On his way home exhausted, he finds a mysterious, wealthy, silver-haired beauty, and they live happily ever after. Such an outrageous plot could only exist in novels. Matt Kai shed tears as wide as noodles. Under the orders of the 3rd Hokage, he officially became Harry's guardian. The so-called guardian is. He will secretly monitor her every move and report to the Hokage at any time. If she makes any attempt to harm Konoha, he will protect Konoha and bring the culprit, Harry, to justice. The mission is rated A, and the reward is 20 taels of silver. It wasn't even half the amount of the money brick that Hui Li casually tossed to him. However, Might Guy, who inherited the will of fire, resolutely gave up the wealth that was within his grasp and accepted this mission. To prevent the 8-gate scroll, which was kept at home, from being stolen, it was temporarily entrusted to Kakashi for safekeeping. See you tomorrow, Huili. Wang Wang Wang. See you tomorrow. Just as Matko was lost in his memories, the voices of the children brought him back to reality. Matkai looked in the direction of the sound. I saw. A blind girl carrying a pink backpack walked out of the school gate, followed by several friends. Inyazuka with a puppy on his head, Nara with a pineapple-shaped haircut, a Kimike with his signature chubby figure, and a blonde guy with starry eyes who's always at his beck and call. The group chatted and laughed, seemingly quite familiar with each other, but there was a subtle feeling that Huili was the leader. Walking in front, Huili exuded the air of a big sister. Matkai was stunned. Didn't she just start school today, so you have that many friends? He'd spent so many years at the Ninja Academy, and it seemed like Kakashi was his only close friend. For no apparent reason, Might Guy suddenly felt a sense of inferiority, like a shut-in facing a popular guy. At this moment, through the crowd, Huili had already seen the unusually shaped green kappa. Then I'll leave first. After Shikamaru and his 3 companions greeted Harry and watched her leave with Might Guy, Naruto parted ways with the others and left alone. Only Shikamaru and his 2 companions remained, and they traveled together. In the afterglow of the setting sun, the reflections of the 3 people and the dog moved slowly forward on the road. The 3 of them walking down the street naturally focused their conversation on Huili. What do you guys think of Huili? Shikamaru suddenly asked a question. She's very strong when fighting, but she has a great personality in normal times. She's much gentler than Ino and Sakura, and most importantly, she loves potato chips too. Koji answered first, clearly having a high opinion of Harry. At school, the girls who were very concerned about their figures usually ignored his potato chips. But today, Huili ate very happily and even said she would bring some snacks for him tomorrow. This made him very excited. And you, yeah. Shikamaru then turned to look at Kiba Inyazuka. Kiba Inyazuka stroked his chin thoughtfully. I don't dislike it, but there's always a strange feeling about it. Shikamaru's eyes narrowed. Kiba Inyazuka had the strongest sensory abilities among the 3 of them, and his findings were of great reference value. What does it feel like? It's just strange, she doesn't smell like anyone. Akamaru, perched on his head, barked in agreement. The smell of a person. Yes. Kiba Inyazuka seemed to have sorted out his thoughts and nodded, saying, we, the Inyazuka clan, have a keen sense of smell and can obtain a lot of information from each person's unique scent. But Huili didn't. She had almost no human scent. Like a dressed, moving stone, or rather, air. Colorless, odorless, and elusive, but being with her is very comfortable. Kiba Inyazuka's explanation only deepened Shikamaru's confusion. He naturally understood what Kiba Inyazuka meant. When everyone is metabolizing, all sorts of strange smells are naturally produced. This process is beyond human control and involves the leakage of a large amount of information. There's no gray glass. Is she not human? Thinking about her outrageous performance of catching a fireball with her bare hands in the training ground, Shikamaru became increasingly uncertain about his absurd speculation. Shake your head to bring back the increasingly scattered thoughts in your mind. Although he still couldn't see through gray glass, he wasn't so sure that he doubted her species. After the practical lesson, the group gradually became acquainted with Huili. To his surprise, Huili was neither as brutal and domineering as she was in battle, nor as arrogant as a genius. On the contrary, she was very gentle. She seemed to know a thing or two about the things they liked, such as food, pets, and fishing. Every time he offered a unique insight, it was a revelation to him. She could tolerate their laziness and gluttony, traits that other girls disliked, and even come up with many strange philosophical arguments to turn their shortcomings into strengths. Powerful, mysterious, beautiful, gentle, and wise. These qualities combined to give this girl an extraordinary charm. He could feel it clearly. As they chatted with Huili, they were surrounded by admiring and envious glances. We've only known each other for a day. The shy Akamaru even allowed Harry to pat his belly. Koji was willing to share his favorite potato chips, and Naruto, who disliked studying the most, filled his notebook with notes every class. Even he, who was initially very wary of her, couldn't help but develop feelings for this special girl. Even a soft laugh from gray glass. It seems that they can all stir up their emotions and make them genuinely happy. Shikamaru suddenly remembered a famous quote from the book. If you feel particularly comfortable chatting with someone, it doesn't necessarily mean that the other person is your confidant. It's very likely that they are just being accommodating to you. Because their emotional intelligence and IQ are far superior to yours, they can catch all the jokes you throw out, and every word they say can strike a chord with you. But what's really disheartening is that it's only because the other person is outstanding, not because you two are compatible. The appearance of gray glass, to some extent, confirms the correctness of this statement. Forget it, don't think about it so much. At least he had succeeded in fulfilling his father's mission to befriend Huili. He was just a child, and Huili's secrets were none of his concern. As soon as the thought of giving up arises, the world becomes wide in an instant. Shikamaru's laziness kicked in, so he decided to clear his mind and go home for a barbecue. End of this chapter.
Hi guys. I made a paid service in Telegram where you will find a great collection of fanfiction audiobooks organized and regularly updated. What you get? An unlimited access to the full audiobook library. New fanfiction audiobooks added regularly. You can play audios directly from Telegram anytime. Joining our service is available through a monthly subscription of $5. You can pay using PayPal or Ko-fi. So what are you waiting for? Send me a message on Telegram or Discord. I will provide the payment details. After the payment is confirmed, you will receive access to the private Telegram channel containing all audiobooks. If you enjoy fanfiction and prefer listening instead of reading, this library is made for you. Message me anytime to join.